Hello. Welcome back into, or for the very first time, I should say, welcome in to Foolish Club Media, a brand new Kansas City Chiefs podcast network. Matt Stagner, our good friend from Arrowhead Pride, is live on the ground at the NFL draft in Detroit right now. He was just trying to jump on. Looks like he's having some technical difficulties. Maybe we'll try to get him back here in a little bit. Rocky, this has been a whirlwind kind of day, whirlwind kind of few weeks for me. I've talked with you about as much as anybody that I've talked to, like in the last few weeks, while trying to figure this out, trying to decide what to do moving forward, trying to decide where I wanted to go and what I was hoping we could accomplish. And we found it. We figured it out. Our friends at the Fans First Sports Network stepped up. They gave us a new place to call our home, and we're bringing a lot of the Arrowhead Pride shows along with us. So it's night one of the NFL draft. I'm going to be totally honest, Rocky. I am not nearly as read up on draft prospects as I normally am at this point in the year. I feel like I have an excuse. Had a lot going on in my life lately, but we are live. We are back. We are talking NFL draft night one, and we've got a new home for our podcast, and all the shows are going to be available for everybody who listened to us at Arrowhead Pride and loved everything that we did there. All that stuff is going to be available for you here very soon, but we got to get through this NFL draft first.
Don't worry, baby boy. I got you when it comes to these draft picks and these prospects. I've been grinding the tape on these guys since August. No, no joke. And dude, the band is back together. Me and Crane were out in the cold, just doing it on our own last week, just trying to keep the thing alive. And then when you reached out to us to say that you were launching Foolish Club Media for the Fans First Network, we were just like, let's do this, bro. Like having you back working with us and getting to work with my man and you is just, it's a privilege, dude. And I'm so excited about this. So we get to build this thing from the ground up and that, and make it our way and do what we want to do. And there's nothing better than this. And it's draft night. What a better night to launch this. It's like saying it's like Christmas Day, man. Like you get to launch your new baby on Christmas Day. And so far the feedback we're getting is just awesome. And so stoked, just so stoked to be here today, Steve. And the Chicago Bears are on the clock.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. It's, I was debating.
I wonder who they're going to take.
I was debating how to try to kick this thing off because I want to talk about everything that we're trying to do. And again, please go follow Fans First Sports Network on Twitter. They are doing some incredible stuff. A lot of our friends from former SB Nation feeds got together after they were unfortunately laid off and started this network. You can follow them on Twitter at Fans First SN. And there's a ton of incredible stuff. A lot of former team feeds from SB Nation covering all kinds of teams across the NFL, college football, everything. Like they've got everything for you there. You can follow them, check out all their cool stuff. And please, again, follow us on Twitter at Club Foolish for all of the new Foolish Club Media content as we're getting underway. We're going to get into the NFL draft, and we've got a lot to talk about. And I'm going to lean on Rocky a lot because I know Rocky has watched thousands of hours of tape at this point and knows everything about each and every player in this NFL draft, but had a very big day. And I'm not going to lie, it was a rush to get everything set up and to get everything going and to get everything in place. So right now we're kind of a bare bones operation, but I promise we are working on a lot of stuff that here in the near future is going to be available for you. So please go find us on Apple, on Spotify, subscribe, rate, and review. Find us on YouTube. Please subscribe there. We're going to try and do tons more video content than we were doing at SB Nation. And we're just going to try to make this thing as big as possible and bring you all the Chiefs coverage that you know and love with tons of familiar voices from Arrowhead Pride. We might have some of our other friends from Arrowhead Pride drop by. We're going to try to get a couple people to drop in throughout the night. But for the most part, it's going to be me and Rocky celebrating that we launched our new feed. We got a podcasting home. We got a place to do shows. We got a place to have fun and hang out with our friends and talk about the Super Bowl winning Kansas City Chiefs. So, Rocky, I love you, man. I was not expecting to lose my job 3 weeks ago, but it's only been 3 weeks. And the fact that we're already doing this again and we already have a new home and there's people that have been so amazing so far, just like showing us love and support. We just announced earlier this afternoon, and so far the impact that we've had has been tremendous, and love. I cannot tell you how stressed I was this week. I'm pretty sure, Rocky, I have like gray spots on the side of my head that weren't there a few weeks ago from everything that I've been going through the last few weeks. So I can't express enough how grateful I am for all of you guys and all the support that you've shown us. And the fact that me and Rocky are here tonight and we get to talk about the NFL draft and break things down. I'm thrilled for it. We're celebrating. I'm sipping on a beer. I haven't even been drinking in like months, Rocky. And this is how happy I am. This is what a relief it has been for me to be able to be here talking with you tonight. And apparently Rocky's got something else going on.
In honor of us,
he's got children, so kind of a break. I told you we're still getting things in order.
This isn't for children, baby.
To be here with you guys for the NFL draft.
The Glenn Levitt 18 years has been brought out to celebrate this new endeavor and this beautiful, beautiful marriage of all of our buddies back together. And Slim Shady was just out on the stage. Now there's somebody freestyling, and they're announcing the Bears pick.
Are they announcing the Bears pick? Is this what's happening right now? That's Jared Goff.
I don't know. It's just no. Yeah, no. I guess they're just Detroit players just talking on the stage.
I think they're just introing the draft at this point. So I think we still got some time here before the Bears will ultimately select Caleb Williams with the number 1 overall pick.
Okay, well, let's talk about that for a second. I know it's like the slam dunk selection, but I'm going to go on a limb here, and I'm going to say Caleb Williams is a bust in the making. I don't like Caleb Williams as a prospect. I think Caleb Williams is soft. If I'm being honest, I don't think Caleb Williams has what it takes to succeed in the NFL. I think that he has a way too high of opinion of himself, which you have to be competitive and be confident. But I think he's cocky, arrogant, and every time that he lost in college, he literally crawled into the stands and crawled into his mother's lap and cried after a loss at USC. You're going to tell me that you're going to succeed in the NFL with that type of mentality? No. I mean, hate on me if you want, and I might look dumb here very quickly, but I think Caleb Williams is a average starter at best in the NFL. So good luck, Detroit, or good luck, Chicago.
Well, Rocky, I disagree with that. I don't mind a guy showing a bit of emotion every now and then, and
it wasn't every now and then.
As somebody, we talked about this before on our old Arrowhead Pride Rapid Reaction show, which me and Rocky will. Now that we've got a new podcast home, we will be coming back this upcoming NFL season with a new post-game show. But name and all of that stuff still to be decided. But got a lot of stuff coming for you guys here in the near future as I try to get my life in order and get everything organized. But we're just happy that we are up and live and talking to you guys tonight and having an opportunity to react to everything that's going to happen in the first round. And all these reports out today, like, as I'm doing 1,000 things, trying to make sure we're totally set up and everything's in order so we can get this thing off the ground and get going. There's all these reports that there's going to be so many trades tonight. The Kansas City Chiefs are looking to move up now. All these teams are calling and trying to get in the top 10. The Rams all of a sudden are trying to get into the top 10 to maybe take Rome Odunze and pair him with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, which would be absolutely filthy. I would be on board with that. But I tend to think we're not going to see a lot of action. I feel like this happens every year, and then there's maybe like one big trade, and then nothing else really happens the rest of the way.
Well, here's the thing: is if you have in this draft, if you have the opportunity to draft Rome Odunze, it means that Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors are already off the board. Any team that has the opportunity to draft Rome Odunze in this draft is going to draft Rome Odunze instead of trading back. Like, that's just the fact. Like, whoever you want to, you may want to trade up and get into range to take him, but you got to find a trade partner, right? I mean, what, because there's teams that are going to be moving up, trying to move up for a quarterback. There's teams that are trying to move up for Rome Odunze. There's teams that are trying to move up for an offensive tackle. I mean, I don't see it happening. I think that if you're in a position and you're on the clock and Rome Odunze is sitting there, like, name one NFL team that's not going to probably take a swing on Rome Odunze there.
Well,
unless they need a quarterback, right? But if like even the Chargers, like everybody keeps on saying the Chargers might go left tackle now, the Titans might go wide receiver instead of going tackle. Like they're going to take Rome Odunze if he's there.
yeah, and 100%. And I feel like we do this over and over again too. And part of the issue, I think, with the NFL draft, and it's just covered over and over and over again. And we talk about this like with mock drafts. Like I used to love doing mock drafts, and I don't really do them anymore. At this point in my career, I don't really have to write much anymore. And I used to write occasionally, like at 610, and occasionally did things for Arrowhead Pride. But for the most part, my job was podcasting, and my job was audio, video, things like that. So I didn't really have to write that much. So I don't really do mock drafts anymore, aside from like doing some in my free time and things like that. And it gets to a point where as soon as we're getting close to the NFL draft, that's when, especially these publications with huge followings, you got to get clicks, you got to get traction. So you start cranking things out. And then it's like, oh, I'm hearing from sources that there's red flags about this guy, there's question marks about this guy. And at the end of the day, it's like, we don't need to have conversations about Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, and Rome Odunze. Like, those are the three top wide receivers in this draft, maybe the three best overall prospects in this draft. And if Rome Odunze winds up being the third wide receiver off the board, like, I think that's pretty crazy. But that just speaks to how highly people think of Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors. But like, Rome Odunze, like, that's a guy to peel the curtain back in my dynasty fantasy football leagues, I'm desperately trying to trade up into the top 4 because I want Rome Odunze. I'm fine with them taking Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. early. I want Rome Odunze because I feel like he's just got, like, Marvin Harrison Jr., for sure, lock star. Malik Neighbors seems like he's going to be a lock star, but like, I'm very confident that Rome Odunze is going to be a stud in the NFL. And so if he falls to 10, any team that gets him there is going to be thrilled to take him at that spot.
Well, 100%. And Rome Odunze was going to be a first round draft pick if he came out last year. Like, that's the thing, is he almost came out in the draft last year, and he was projected to be a first round draft pick. He went back, hit the gym hard all offseason, got faster, got stronger. And then you watched any game film of Rome Odunze's this year, all you saw is a guy who should have been playing on Sundays. Like he should have come out last year. He would have been the best wide receiver in the draft if he came out last year, I think, after what we saw this year. And you just saw a guy who was just another level ahead of the competition. He made college players look like college players playing against a pro athlete. He looked like an NFL athlete out there on the field playing college football all season long. And so I'm with you. I mean, I honestly like my gut tells me, like, you want to talk, like who has the best career out of the three of them? I mean, people are going to say you're stupid to put anybody above Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors is explosive. He set the LSU record for receiving yards and touchdowns. Like, okay, like that guy's a legitimate stud. But I mean, gun to my head, you say who's going to have the best career? I say I see a lot of Mike Evans and Rome Odunze, and Mike Evans has had a hell of a career, right? He's going to be like Rome Odunze is going to be that consistent 1,000-yard guy, 10 touchdowns every single year for like 12 years in the NFL.
Yeah, and yeah, that's what I've seen a ton of Mike Evans comparisons. The Bears are really going to let this thing bleed all the way down, aren't they? They're already over the 5-minute mark. Like, come on, let's just. And the clock just reset for some reason. Okay, it's because the pick is in. The pick is in for the Chicago Bears. So I'm assuming they're selecting Caleb Williams, unless there's just some absolute shocker here that none of us saw coming. But I want to keep talking wide receivers because obviously that's a huge position of need for the Kansas City Chiefs. And if you want to buy into all the rumors, especially that have been floating around today about them trading up, and it's offensive tackle, backup plan, wide receiver if the tackles that they want are off the board already. But seems like the Chiefs are trying to be aggressive. But we know from past drafts, like, them trying to be aggressive doesn't always translate to them actually being able to move up, because just in general, when you're as successful as the Kansas City Chiefs are, a lot of teams just don't want to do business with you at this point, which I think is totally bogus. Like be better at your jobs and do business with the Kansas City Chiefs. It's the name of the game, and try to find a way to accrue value for your draft assets. Like that's what you should be doing. You should not be hanging up the phone on Brett Veach just because the Chiefs win Super Bowls and you don't. That's stupid. But Let's shift to the quarterback conversation while we're waiting for the Bears to officially announce. I assume Caleb Williams as the number one overall.
It's in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams, quarterback, USC, number one overall pick, going to the Chicago Bears. So I want to talk about the other quarterbacks, but you already talked about you're not buying Caleb Williams. You think that Caleb Williams is going to be a bust. Now, I am not going to say that. I like the improvisation and his play style, and I like the things that Caleb Williams does. I like his mobility and his athleticism and all of that stuff. And I do think that the Bears are set up for success right now. Like what they've done this offseason, their defense quietly was one of the most underrated defenses in the NFL on the back half of last season. Jalen Johnson, we know, is a superstar player. Montez Sweat was incredible after they traded for him from Washington, and he totally revamped that defense in the second half of the year. And they've got some other pieces coming back. But what they've done on the offensive side of the ball to set up Caleb Williams, like that offensive line for the Chicago Bears is going to be the best offensive line that they have had in several years. And then you talk about the weapons, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and everything else that they have done there. Like, I do think, even though I think they probably should have fired Matt Eberflus and moved on instead of kind of having a lame duck head coach. And then if it totally implodes this season in his rookie year and he gets fired and then you got to retool again down the line, like I think they should have just gone ahead and taken care of that. But it does feel like they're set up to be a competitive football team, which they have not been in several years. So as long as Caleb Williams is like a functional quarterback, I feel like he's stepping into a much better situation than Justin Fields ever did during his entire time with the Chicago Bears.
100%. The roster is going to be much better. Caleb Williams is set up for success. I just don't think Caleb Williams is going to succeed. And the reason for that, it's not that a guy can't show emotion. I love a guy who shows emotion. Patrick Mahomes shows emotion in every single game. Travis Kelce shows emotion. It's the way you show the emotion. Caleb Williams, he lost his first game this year. He was sitting on the bench, being consoled, like towel over his head after he lost his first game this season. Teammates consoling him. Okay, that's fine. You're bummed after a loss, but like players like trying to cheer him up. He's like shoving them away. Like, I don't want to talk to you. Leave me alone. You're the quarterback of the football team. But still, whatever. Let it go. Second loss. Crawls into the stands, crawls into his mother's lap, pulls a blanket over his head, literally weeps in her lap in the stands after he loses the game. Third loss of the season, doesn't even show up to the press conference. Refuses to do the press conference.
I like being comfortable enough in yourself.
Listen,
and your emotions
it is not about being comfortable enough or men being able to cry. I cry all the time. I'm a sissy. I cry a lot. I'm all about men being able to cry. No, 100%. It's not about that. It's about, though, if you're the quarterback on the football team, you got, and you're the one who's responsible more than anybody else for the wins and the losses. It's your job to stand up there and answer the questions and to pull yourself together. You can't. I'm not saying you can't cry, but you got to be at the podium. You got to be there for your team after the loss and cry with them. You know what I mean? And so it's those small things. It's him sitting there saying that he wants to go to this place, or maybe I won't come out of college because I can make more money in college. And for me, it's all about the money. Fine, that's true. You want to make money? That's fine. It's not one thing. You're stacking these things together, and then you say, okay, you took a statistical step back this season, even though you have three offensive weapons that are going to be drafted this weekend. You know, you have Taj Washington, Brendan Rice, and Marshawn Lloyd. All three are excellent weapons. And then on top of that, where's your signature win? What was his signature win this year? Who did they beat?
I don't know off the top.
Nobody. Nobody. They didn't beat ranked people.
Yeah,
like they got beat every time they played a good team. They got beat.
Didn't USC have one of the worst defenses in the country though? Like, wasn't there other things that were factoring into that? Like, didn't Cliff Kingsbury make that offense take a step back as a whole? Like, weren't there other things impacting Caleb Williams a little bit? And like when he showed the flashes, like the flashes were there. We were like, okay, that's why that guy's got this kind of hype.
100%. But you know what? You want to sit there and say, okay, weren't the flashes there? Yeah, the flashes were there, but where he wasn't playing within structure though either. You can say a lot of things about Cliff Kingsbury as a coach. His teams always put up points. Like you could say, was the defense bad? Sure, the defense was horrible, But why did he have the 12th most passing yards in the nation this year if he's the best quarterback and he had 3 offensive weapons that are going to go in the draft this year? He wasn't missing offensive weapons. You say his coach can't coach, but his coach just got a job as an offensive coordinator in the NFL this year. You know, the coach is the same coach that coached Patrick Mahomes in college. You know, I mean, when he was with the Cardinals, they didn't have problems moving the ball.
Yeah,
that wasn't ever the problem.
Sucks though. Cliff Kingsbury sucks. Like we know
as a head coach, but as an offensive mind, he's not horrible.
Yeah, I think back to what he did in Arizona, and you know, I'm not trying to sit here and say that like I think that Kyler Murray is a fine starting NFL caliber quarterback. Like I don't think that Kyler Murray is like an absolute superstar who can elevate everybody around him or something like that. But I also feel like there's probably more to get out of Kyler Murray than he has gotten, than he has shown so far in the NFL, just because I don't think that his circumstances have been particularly good. I think some of that was just Arizona not only keeping Cliff too long, doubling down on Cliff and like giving him an extension. So like, I think that Caleb Williams is going to be good. I think that he is going to be in a good situation, but I don't like where... I don't like the Bears' decision making so much. Like I think that Ryan Poles has done an okay job. I just feel like we're a little overrated on what Ryan Poles actually has done, because I feel like he's made some bad moves on top of some of the good ones that he's made. Washington Commanders pick is in. We assume it's going to be another quarterback. While we're waiting for that, Rocky, I mentioned that I kind of wanted to get into the quarterback. So is it Jaden Daniels? Is it Drake May? Like what are your feelings on these guys if you're not so high on Caleb Williams?
Oh yeah, it's Jaden Daniels. They just announced it. It's Jaden Daniels, and it was going to be Jaden Daniels. Like everybody thought it was Drake May all year long, and the last week it switched over to Jaden Daniels.
That's crazy.
Yeah. No, it's Jaden Daniels. That if you want to talk about a riser throughout the season, Jaden Daniels wasn't even on anybody's radar heading into this year. And I mean, when you have 2 first-round draft picks at wide receiver, it can make you look really good. You know, you have Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors as your wide receivers. I mean, that's why Michael Penix Jr. is going to be a first-round draft pick. You know, I mean, he's not accurate. Michael Penix Jr. is not an accurate quarterback. He's athletic and he's talented, but Jaden Daniels, he's got some playmaking ability. He can work out a structure a little bit, give you more with his legs. But he wants to play within structure. That's the difference between him and Caleb Williams, I think, is that Caleb Williams, it has kind of that Mahomes in him where he wants to bail a little too soon and play out of structure a little too soon. Whereas in Jaden Daniels wants to play within structure of the offense. He can run, but he's not looking to run. He's looking to try to step up in the pocket, navigate the pocket, keep his eyes downfield and make the pass. How the Commanders came to this decision, I'll never trust anything the Commanders do, even if they have new ownership. It came out this week that they brought in all the top prospects except for like Caleb Williams and took them to Topgolf and just wanted to see how they interacted with each other and see who was like the best team guy.
What wasn't Jaden Daniels upset about that? Like, wasn't that the big story?
He was pissed. He was pissed.
I understand that, but like, see, this is where the Commanders are worrisome, especially for a player like him, because I feel like with Drake May, and I feel like because it's so obvious, he's gotten a ton of the Justin Herbert stuff. Like, you know, Justin Herbert, everybody's down on him coming out of college because didn't have a great final year at Oregon, but was on a bad team, just in a bad system that like kind of held him back. And then he came in the NFL, immediately showed like why the season before everybody was hyping him up as like this incredible all around prospect. And Jaden Daniels had an incredible season, but like the Drake May hype, I kind of felt like it was kind of some of that where he's got all of the tools that you expect to succeed at the NFL level. And then there's just some red flags, but the red flags are enough that come draft season, come prospect evaluation season and leading into the NFL draft, a lot of teams are just talking themselves out of Drake May, and the Washington Commanders talk themselves into Jaden Daniels, who's coming off a Heisman Trophy win. Like, is this going to be another Herbert situation where it's like everybody talks themselves out of Drake May, and then Drake May comes in and just dominates in the NFL?
Yeah, because Drake May's super young too. I mean, and Drake May's had who was Drake May's targets this year? Tez Walker and Bryson Nesbitt. Like, that's not the same level of targets. Like he lost Josh Downs, his number one target from last year. And he wasn't nothing. And it wasn't reloaded for him. And also what we are going to see though is if Jaden Daniels comes out and balls out, then you got to admit that Cliff Kingsbury is a good offensive coach, because now Cliff Kingsbury is 100% responsible for developing Jaden Daniels. You know, I mean, because Dan Quinn's not going to be out there developing a quarterback. You know, he's a defensive coach, and so Jaden Daniels is in Cliff Kingsbury's hands here, and I think that Drake May is the best quarterback coming out of this. Like in the long run, I think Caleb Williams has the most natural talent, hands down. Caleb Williams, from a pure natural physical ability level, is a once every 10-year type of prospect. But there's more to playing quarterback than physical skills. And I think that Drake May has the physical skills and the ability to play within structure, to throw across the middle of the field. That's the problem. Is a lot of these guys don't throw across the middle of the field. Drake May is one of the few quarterbacks in this draft that's not afraid to throw across the middle and hits receivers on time on crossing patterns where they're not stopping and waiting for the ball. They don't have to try to sit down in the zone and wait. Like the timing of his passes are on point, you know?
So back-to-back quarterbacks to start this thing off, and everyone expects
there's going to be two more
to take a quarterback.
Yeah, 2 more.
Now,
here comes Drake May.
We'll see if it's Drake May, or we'll see if it's JJ McCarthy. And you know, and the Patriots pick is in, so the Patriots rushed to the podium to get that pick in. Like they know exactly who they wanted, and they were happy that Washington took Jaden Daniels. I want to talk Chiefs stuff, but we're trying to react to the picks and give you our reaction as things are happening live at the NFL draft in Detroit. But as we're waiting for the pick to officially come down, Rocky, number one player the Kansas City Chiefs could take tonight that you would be absolutely ecstatic about?
It'd take a trade up, but Brian Thomas Jr. He's projected to go anywhere from 14 to 28. He's just like we talk about the wide receivers. You got your 3 tiers, right? You got Harrison, Neighbors, Odunze, and then below that it's Brian Thomas Jr. and then it's everybody else, right? And he's just that guy. He's 6'3", 6'4", 205 pounds, runs in the 4.3s, had more touchdown, had or averaged over a touchdown a game. I think he had 17 touchdowns and 1,200-ish yards this season. It's just he's just silly. Like he's like, you want to talk about a guy who has the opportunity to be a number one wide receiver in this league. He is the best shot the Chiefs are going to have at getting a number one wide receiver tonight. Other than that, we're looking at guys like if a guy like Troy Fautanu slid, a lot of people think maybe he has to shift inside the guard. I think he has the length to stay at tackle. He does have some strength concerns. He'll need to get a little bit stronger, but from a technique standpoint, he's awesome. He might be within trade up range. These are all trade up guys. If we're talking about staying put, if Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma slices the Chiefs, they got to jump on him at offensive tackle. Otherwise, it's Xavier Legette for me at 32. It's got it like with the Rashee Rice situation up in the air. Like you're talking like day one, Xavier Legette gives you everything that Rashee Rice did last year. Wide receiver screens, wide shallow crosses.
Yeah.
And he runs in the 4.3s.
So,
right.
And that's why I've seen you pumping him up a ton on AP, and I love where your head's at with that, because it's not only is he a big, strong wide receiver, but he's explosive in a way that Rashee Rice isn't. And that's not a knock on Rashee Rice. Like, obviously we got to wait and see how his legal issues play out. But last season also, like, I feel like Rashee Rice showed a little bit more explosion than I expected from him. But I think some of it is just how strong he is and his tackle breaking ability. And the Patriots select Drake May. So they played it safe. No JJ McCarthy. I feel like JJ McCarthy, for all of this hype that he was going to go super early, it feels like another Will Levis situation where he's
100% Will Levis.
Yeah, like he's going to drop into like the late first round or something like that. But okay, Drake May off the board. So pretty chalk 1 through 3 straight quarterbacks. We'll find out if that was a smart move by any of these teams, but all 3 of these quarterback needy teams have franchise quarterbacks in place now. So nothing crazy. We already talked about the quarterbacks a ton, and honestly, like Drake May to New England with, in the post Bill Belichick era and them rebuilding and trying to retool their organization after the greatest head coach of all time steps down. It might not be a bad spot, but right now that Patriots roster really sucks. So we got to see what Gerard Mayo's got and what he could do with Drake May and how they could try to develop him as a rookie, because that roster is rough, Rocky.
Yeah, they need some receivers. Like there'd be an argument there that they could have taken Marvin Harrison Jr. just based on the fact that does it do them any good to take a quarterback this year when he has nobody to throw the ball to? He has nobody to keep him upright either. Like that's the whole thing. It's the Patriots like entire offense is just decimated. Like Bill Belichick, like he stepped down for a reason. Like his personnel moves since Brady left have been were a train wreck. And New England is at least 2 to 3 years away, even with Drake May at quarterback, from contending anytime soon. So I think Drake May is going to have a great career, but I think that it's going to take a couple of years until you actually see the fruits, kind of as a labor.
This is from Adam Schefter. The Cardinals are not expected to trade the number 4 pick after moving around a lot last year in the first round. They're expected to stay put and take an offensive weapon. I assume it's Marvin Harrison Jr. It would be crazy if they took Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze, but I assume that's going to be another chalk pick if Marvin Harrison Jr. goes number 4 overall, and I think he absolutely deserves to go number 4 overall. Like he's one of the better wide receiver prospects we've seen, even though this draft is loaded with talent at the position. I do want to get to before the Arizona Cardinals pick comes down. I want to get back to the wide receivers that you were talking about, because we talked about Xavier Legette a little bit, and you mentioned Brian Thomas. And man, I really love what Brian Thomas brings to the table. And similarly to Xavier Legette, like Legette's obviously much more of a project right now than Brian Thomas is, but there's not just speed there. There's strength, there's power, there's lots of tools there that the Chiefs can play around with. And as opposed to typical Andy Reid fashion in years past, where they like the speedy, smaller wide receivers. And Tyreek Hill is strong for his size, but for the most part, Andy Reid typically loves him, a shorter wide receiver who can just take the top off the defense. And for years, I'm just like, give me somebody who's strong, can break tackles, shed people, and just take off. And Rashee Rice has got a little bit of that, and I think they can absolutely expand on what Rashee Rice did in his rookie year, barring some suspension from his legal issues. But Brian Thomas would legitimately excite me, but I also feel like I would be absolutely terrified, because I think back to another LSU wide receiver from a couple of years ago, and Terrace Marshall, who I thought was going to be a stud in the NFL with 4.34 speed, big, strong, can shed tackles, and Terrace Marshall did not translate to the NFL whatsoever. And now Brian Thomas, obviously, Terrace Marshall, I think, was a 2nd-round pick, and Brian Thomas is projected early 1st round. He is viewed as a much better, more talented prospect than Terrace Marshall is. But that's also what scares me about a player like Brian Thomas, especially if you're talking about trading up significant draft capital to go grab him.
The difference between Brian Thomas and Terrace Marshall is that Terrace Marshall ran his routes in right angles. He could not run at a diagonal line. Everything was rounded off. Everything was just cut across. Like the man has had no agility. He was straight line speed only. And Brian Thomas is much more agile than Terrace Marshall is. His stats were crushed anything Terrace Marshall ever put up. And here's the thing that I guarantee. I hardly ever say I guarantee a guy's going to be a success, but I guarantee that Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be a success. And it's for this reason. When you watch his game film, even if it's a screen pass or a wide receiver screen that's going to the opposite side of the field away from him, he runs the hell out of that route every single time and sells it every single time. He doesn't take a single snap off. He sells every single fake route. If his job is to clear it out, to open up the underneath route underneath, then he is booking it as hard as he can down the field and making the defender think that the ball is coming to him. Like he runs every route like the ball is coming to him, even if he knows the ball is not coming to him. And it's that kind of commitment and attention to detail kind of thing where I think that talent gets you in the NFL, but it's the work ethic after you get drafted that makes you a success. right? Like I think back to a few years back on Hard Knocks when CeeDee Lamb was off to the side with Amari Cooper, learning releases from Amari Cooper. And you thought to yourself there, CeeDee Lamb is going to be a success in the NFL because he's not arrogant and he wants to learn from somebody, right? He wants to go out there and be successful. George Karlaftis worked with Tamba Hali in the offseason, right? And what happened? He jumped up to a 10.5 sack season. And so I think it's these little things where you see a guy who's committed to making the team better, but then making himself better through these like little things. And that's the thing that where I see that and I say, this isn't Terrence Marshall. This isn't a lazy route runner. This isn't a lazy player. Like I think Terrence Marshall played lazy sometimes.
So Marvin Harrison Jr. does in fact go number 4 overall to the Arizona Cardinals. That's got to be really exciting for Cardinals fans. Just a player that's got like so much upside as a rookie. Like I think back to the rookie seasons of players like Jamar Chase and like AJ Green and like what they did right out of the gate in their NFL careers. Like I'm pretty confident in saying I think Marvin Harrison Jr. can do something like that as a rookie because also Arizona's other wide receivers, not really a lot going on there. Like Greg Dortch and Michael Wilson Jr. are probably the top guys on the depth chart. So Marvin Harrison Jr. steps into a situation where like he should get like 150 targets easily as a rookie and be their number 1 wide receiver and be their number 1 option. And I know they got what's their tight end's name? I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. See, this is what happens when you take 3 weeks off. Trey McBride. We take 3 weeks off and you're not locked in the NFL draft. You forget the name of a star ascending player like Trey McBride. So they got Trey.
I almost said Zach Ertz. So.
Nice. No, and Trey McBride had a really nice year last year. Like you're like really stepped up and looked like he's got potential to be a superstar caliber tight end. So you add in Marvin Harrison Jr., elite number 1 overall wide receiver who can step right in immediately, and you would not be shocked at all if he goes for like 1,300 yards and 9 touchdowns as a rookie and like leads rookie wide receivers in receiving yards, especially after like just thinking back to like Jamar Chase after he had the year off after the national championship run because of COVID and everything. And everybody's saying, oh, we Jamar Chase, we have our doubts about, how good he really is. And like, you see how Justin Jefferson like dominated the NFL and like everybody's questioning Jamar Chase. And then Jamar Chase, day 1, regular season NFL, just absolutely shredding everybody. Like Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be that dude without a doubt. But Rocky, before we keep talking wide receivers, our good friend, the lead analyst of Arrowhead Pride, Ron Cobb Jr. just jumped in the room. Ron, wonderful to see you. Thank you so much for jumping on. This all came together very fast. So thank you for jumping on with us, hanging out with us, talking NFL draft tonight, and being on Foolish Club Media as we try to get this new project underway.
I know, dude. I'm so honored to be on the inaugural live stream for y'all. No, I know we got some stuff cooking, at AP too. So definitely cool to see all the other podcasts, get a home. Cause I don't know, it was cool to see all the reception, right? When it did kind of go down, that was the only positive, right? That was the only positive of it all, was seeing everyone kind of vouch for the shows to keep going. So Serda, shout out you for keeping them going. Appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, it's still all love for my friends at Arrowhead Pride. Like I've still been reading the site every day, despite the fact that I no longer work at Arrowhead Pride. Like I still love what everybody does there. Still have love for the entire team. I'm going to read everything that you guys do and stay up to date on all Kansas City Chiefs topics. But we're here to talk about the NFL draft tonight. And again, thank you for jumping on and hanging out with us for a little bit while we go through the first round. It's been I feel like it's been exactly what everyone expected so far, even though once again, every year, the national media really hypes up all these trades and all the action in the first round. And then I feel like it's always kind of a letdown, but we're only through the first 4 picks.
Oh, I think chaos is still coming, sir. Don't speak too soon. Right here, honestly, the Chargers, I had them in a mock where SB Nation actually got to pick for the Chargers. I had them trading down and kind of sitting and waiting for an offensive tackle, but they might just take a swing on one here, right, Rocky? I don't know. What do you think?
They might. I mean, but at the same time, it's like honestly, wide receiver is their biggest need. They have no wide receivers.
I know, dude, they have nobody.
Johnson. But it's like, is Jim Harbaugh going to take a wide receiver? He should take a wide receiver here. You got Justin Herbert has to stay upright, but if he doesn't have any weapons, like, you guys aren't going to do anything. But if they do trade back here, then they're definitely going offensive tackle. And it's because somebody's trying to jump up also for JJ McCarthy. They're trying to jump the Giants.
Counterpoint, Rocky, to receiver, JC Latham, Rashawn Slater on the other side. I mean, I don't know. That is the vision, and that's probably what Harbaugh is drooling over, right? Like, because they do want
that's what they say. They got
Greg Roman. They got Greg Roman, an offensive coordinator. Like, they're gonna be. I mean, they're gonna be Michigan in the NFL, and they're gonna waste Justin Herbert a little bit, maybe in that sense. But we're gonna have to see him. And they're. I feel like they're just gonna. That's what Jim Harbaugh wants to do. So I don't know. I feel like it's going to be JC Latham. And that's what, the guys.
Well, yeah, 100%. Yeah,
they've all been saying
that's the new flavor, right? They're saying it's going to be JC Latham because they have Rashawn Slater already, and JC Latham plays on the right side. But Alt's the better prospect. Like hands down, I love JC Latham. He might be the strongest offensive lineman in the draft, but Alt is the better offensive line prospect. Like so, even if you play him on the right hand side, I think you have to take Alt. They probably won't. Everybody thinks that they're going JC Latham now, which they very well could. But just aside from that, Justin Herbert's your quarterback, and you go out and get Greg Roman as your offensive coordinator. Like, were you on ayahuasca when you made that decision, Jim Harbaugh? Like literally, that is so dumb. Like, I love it. I love how dumb it was because it's guaranteeing that the Chiefs are going to dominate the AFC West for as long as he's quarterback, because you have the guy who basically drove Lamar Jackson into the ground to the point where he was questioning whether or not he wanted to come back as a Baltimore Raven. And then as soon as he leaves, Lamar Jackson has arguably his best season as a quarterback. I mean, I
have had a lot of thoughts about that, and I feel like I haven't really had an opportunity to get my takes off about Harbaugh and the Chargers. And I know the expectation is that he's immediately going to come in and turn things around, and the Chargers are no longer going to charger, and Justin Herbert's finally going to have an opportunity to actually be on a good team and have a good foundation around him to build on. And I think I've been saying for the last couple of years, Chargers should have moved on from that roster a while ago. This wasn't something they should have just kept running back and thinking they were Super Bowl contenders or something like that. But I also wonder, is Jim Harbaugh, at this point, and those 49ers teams that he had were amazing, but also loaded with just Hall of Fame talent, all over the place. And he stepped into that. A lot of those guys were there before he even came in. And then he came in and established the culture, and those guys finally started performing the way that they were supposed to. And they finally had a good coach and all of that stuff. But I kind of feel like his system is kind of archaic at this point. He's going to go in there and he's going to be like, Justin, we're going to run the hell out of the football. We're going to play defense, and we're just going to be physical as hell, and we're going to dominate that way. And then occasionally you're going to get an opportunity to take a deep shot off of a play action call. It needs to run through Justin Herbert. And I'm not sure that Harbaugh is actually going to do that, because he's going to want to run things the way that he runs things.
He's going to try to play Marty ball in 2024. Is what he's going to try to do. And it didn't work in the 90s, let alone in 2024.
Hey, it got the 1 seed. It got the 1 seed, Rocky, multiple times. Don't you dare say it didn't work. Just didn't go all the way, okay? Stupid Broncos and Colts. No, I didn't want to believe that Jim Harbaugh would just come in and be archaic like that, but he hired Greg Roman. I mean, that's all you got to say. I mean, you went into it, Rocky, and so I don't know. I definitely think, as Chiefs fans, we got to be, we got to be good with that to an extent. I think the Chargers definitely could have made it a little harder on us with who they, gave Justin Herbert to go with. But yeah, they absolutely have no receiver. So there it is. Yeah. No, they did not address the receiver position. Let's just say that.
I mean, yeah, that's fine, but that just goes. Joe Alt, tackle out of Notre Dame, top offensive tackle prospect by most people's standards, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's exactly what you expect Harbaugh to do, right? That's exactly what we're talking about. He wants to run the hell out of the ball. Their offensive line hasn't been good for years now, outside of Rashawn Slater, who has been a little bit banged up, and I think kind of struggled a little bit last year. So now you shore up the offensive line for Justin Herbert, and that can go a long way while you might be a little deficient at the wide receiver position. But like, that's exactly what Harbaugh's doing. He's like, I'm going to shore up the offensive line because we are going to run the football because that's what we do.
Well, and he is like you said, Rocky, like Joe Alt's a left tackle in college, but like he's an easy projection right tackle. Like there's no reason they got to flip Rashawn Slater over to right tackle. Like Joe Alt is he was a tight end, in high school. He's kind of got that, he's still got like, he maybe shouldn't be a blindside, NFL guy right away. He might need to, kind of be more of a front side guy for Justin Herbert. And it makes sense to keep Slater there. So yeah, I think that's a dangerous duo for them at offensive tackle, no doubt about it. But again, it's setting up to be, a little bit Ravens 2019, back in the day, which again, hey, good regular season success, but you got to at some point be able to open it up, in today's NFL. So we'll see if they do that. Cause again, they do have Justin Herbert. So we could be definitely underrating, how well they kind of set this up. But I guess how much can you open it up if you have no big time receivers? So I guess that's the key there.
They have no big time wide receiver. And yeah, going back to Alt, I mean, his dad is Chiefs alumni, and so
yeah,
it would have. So we love the family, and I love betting on the pedigree. His dad did not let him play offensive line until I think senior year of high school. He made him play tight end and made him play other sports because he wanted to be able to have that movability. But man, you got like some of the best wide receiver prospects we've seen in a decade sitting here. Best is Justin Jefferson, I would say. I would say Malik Neighbors is a better prospect than Jamar Chase, in my opinion. Just with his movability. He plays bigger than he is. His run after the catch. I mean, he smoked Jamar Chase's stats. Yeah, Jamar Chase took a year off for COVID. But Jamar Chase is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. But I think Malik Neighbors' upside is better than Jamar Chase's.
Well, and that's the thing though, is I agree with you that this receiver class top heavy wise is ridiculous because I love me some Roma Dunes. I know you do too. But that's why, like in my go back to my Chargers mock draft when I traded back, I grabbed a second round pick, an early second round pick. So now they had 2 early second round picks. That's where you can really maybe attack the receiver position. You could double up there if you had 2 second round picks there. They didn't exercise that here, right? They didn't exercise that. They just said, we'll just stick to getting Joe Alt and not try to, maybe get a little value, which they could have, right? They could have definitely tried to, get some more, day 2, day 3, day 2 capital, I should say, just so they have more swings at the receiver position. But it is going to be a good receiver class, where they're picking in the second round too.
The Chargers weapons right now: Darius Davis, Joshua Palmer, Quentin Johnson. Running backs, they did sign a couple of former Ravens, J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. Tight end, Will Dissly and Hayden Hurst are their top 2 tight ends right now. Like, that is a gross core of weapons. And I love J.K. Dobbins coming out of college. That's kind of who I wanted the Chiefs to take over Clyde the year that they took Clyde in the first round. But like ultimately I was fine with the pick. And that was before J.K. Dobbins like suffered all these just awful injuries that have really set his career back. But like, that's a rough group of playmakers for a guy that you're supposed to be building around Justin Herbert, not like setting him back. And maybe they just think if we have a good offensive line, everything else will fall into place and work. But I just don't really trust that. And their defense is going to be terrible. Like, their defense was bad last year, and it's going to be even worse this season because of all the guys that they've restructured and kept around are just getting older and more likely to get hurt. And like, I just don't really understand what they're doing exactly. If they're trying to like rebuild this thing immediately and try to capitalize on Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I mean, it's a flawed plan from the get-go. And I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to say, okay, well, let's shore up the line. Let's make sure we have a good foundation to build off of. Cool. But you just passed on the most explosive weapon you're ever going to have a chance at during your career as a GM or a head coach. And so there's going to always be a stud left tackle. There's not going to always be a top 3 wide receiver group like this. And
you could definitely make that argument, Rocky. There's no doubt about it. This receiver, these top 3 guys are that good, honestly. So I think that's a fair argument to make for sure.
And Malik Neighbors goes number 6 overall to the New York Giants. That's I feel like the Chargers, like I feel like a lot of people probably mocked an offensive lineman to the Chargers or a wide receiver or something like that. So I don't think there's been anything shocking just yet. Malik Neighbors obviously fills a position of need for the New York Giants, though. They still have Daniel Jones as their quarterback, coming off of a serious knee injury, and just hoping that they can figure things out. But I think Malik Neighbors immediately steps into that room and is the best wide receiver on that roster, because last season they just had like 7 slot wide receivers and they were just trotting them all out there at the same time.
Yeah, he's that Odell Beckham kind of replacement type of guy. The report is that the Giants did want a quarterback, but they were Drake May or bust. And so when Drake May went, that they were like, okay, we're not trading back because Neighbors is our second guy on our board.
Yeah, the thing with Neighbors, though, I just feel bad for him going to, where he is, because I don't know. I mean, Brian Daboll is going to get him the ball in the creative ways, no doubt about it. And I guess maybe, I should give him a little more credit, but just Daniel Jones being the quarterback there, it's just, I know they put together a season. We just saw them go to the playoffs recently, but come on, I mean, I would have loved to see Neighbors with the Chargers, with Justin Herbert, kind of letting him, air it out, and also just, obviously be efficient getting the ball in his hands. And he would have been, we were just talking about how little they have, Neighbors would have been getting the ball 100 plus targets, right away, 120 plus targets right away. I don't know if he can do all of that with the Giants, right? Just because they might just be like, I don't know how good they're going to be, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I do. I feel like he's gonna step into that. Like he's gonna immediately, like he's gonna be that guy. Like come training camp time. Like I feel like we're gonna be getting all these kinds of reports that like Malik Neighbors is just absolutely toasting everybody, like in Giants practice. And because I do think he has a chance to be that special kind of player. I want to go back to the Chargers really quick and just talk about Quentin Johnson and before we move off of that, I just want to toot my own horn a little bit, because I live by a rule, and I've talked about this before, but I don't think I've ever talked about this with you guys specifically. Never draft TCU wide receivers. And the Chargers passing up on a wide receiver at number 5, I assume in hopes that they can get more out of Quentin Johnson, their first round pick from last season, going into year number 2, which he had a historically bad rookie season for where he was selected. Like it was that bad. Like, can name a successful NFL wide receiver who played at TCU. I swear I live by this in every possible way across fantasy football, in every kinds of analysis. Never draft a TCU wide receiver because you can't name one that was successful in the NFL.
Well, I mean, also, like, there's just so few of them, I feel like so few of them actually make the NFL.
Josh Doxson was maybe the most successful TCU wide receiver.
They get first-round picks, right? Like, you get the guys like, Doxson, and then Jalen Reagor, which is my famous, I was my first year really doing we had like a little podcast on the draft, and I argued very hard for Jalen Reagor over a guy like Justin Jefferson. So, I know that feeling, Serda, and I am not going to get burned again. So trust me, no way, Jose, am I ever going to trust a TCU receiver again.
Just something to remember down the line. The next time TCU has a wide receiver that people really like as a first-round talent, just say, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to fall for it again. And he won't succeed in the NFL because they just don't. They just don't crank successful wide receivers into the league.
I agree. And Sky Moore made me change my rules for wide receivers, where anybody under 6 feet tall who didn't play in a Power 5 conference is off my board. 100%. Honestly, anybody under 6 feet tall, you have to at least be 6 feet tall and played in a Power 5 conference, or you're off my board. And now I'll add to it Power 5 conference except for TCU. If you play for TCU, you're also off my board.
So the Titans pick is in, and now that Ron's hanging out with us, we've tried to get into Chiefs stuff a little bit here, and I feel like we keep reacting to the draft and getting sidetracked talking about those teams, and want to focus in on the Chiefs, as all kinds of reports today that the Chiefs are trying to trade up, desperately trying to trade up to select an offensive lineman or their top available wide receiver or something like that. But Ron, I already asked this to Rocky. He said Brian Thomas. If the Chiefs came away with one single player from the first round tonight. Like, who would you be most ecstatic about them being able to select, whether it's through a trade up or a player that falls to them or something?
Oh, dude, I'm huge AD Mitchell guy. I am a big Adonai Mitchell from Texas guy. From the start of the process, I mean, from the start of his career, I should say, honestly, from his college career, you could just tell there was something, you wanted to have, on your team about AD Mitchell in terms of on the field, in terms of the way he can not only get open deep, obviously has game-breaking speed, but the way he moves, he's silky smooth in and out of his movements as a route runner. Just absolutely can toy with corners, on the perimeter, and definitely is a ball winner at the catch point. It does not drop balls very, very much. He's definitely going to be a strong hands catcher, strong over the middle. And that's what the Chiefs need. And honestly, that's the thing is like AD Mitchell, he doesn't really have a yak ability, which is like, whoa, the Chiefs are going to pick a receiver that doesn't have yak. Like he definitely is a guy that's going to do everything before the catch. And then after the catch, he's not going to give you as much as some of these other guys, like maybe a Brian Thomas Jr. I do think he has a little more to offer after the catch, a little more, can just take off and turn a catch into a touchdown, out of kind of nowhere. But the thing with AD Mitchell is that fitting him with what you got in the Chiefs receiving room right now, which, currently, and I know Marquise Brown is going to be moving on, potentially after a year, there's always a chance they sign him, but it does feel like, it's just going to be a 1-year kind of thing. Just how he fits with what they have right now. I just feel like they have yak guys. They have guys that can really, threaten, in space. And he's just going to be the guy that no matter what you're doing, man, tight man, off man, like he's just going to get open. He's going to be that route winner that Mahomes can trust, and just get open when they really need it. When other guys maybe, need a little more, scheme, I guess, to help get them open. I really like the way Mitchell can just get open by himself and could just be that guy for long term. So I'm a big AD Mitchell fan tonight. I just feel like he may go earlier than we all think, honestly, unfortunately.
So I want to talk to you guys about this too, because this is something that I've been going back and forth with, and obviously lot going on in my life last few weeks. So I haven't really had a chance to have a conversation with people who I feel like are better suited to discuss it than I am. And I believe that both of you absolutely are. And the Titans pick is in. We'll react to that here in just a second. But there's a lot of debate right now about this wide receiver class and like the talent and the depth of all of it. But then like the analytics and the metrics not necessarily lining up with the tape and with what the film evaluators are saying about some specific wide receivers, especially the guys after the top 3 that everybody believes are going to be like just monsters in the NFL. Like, where do you guys side on the analytics versus tape community and this wide receiver class and like the actual talent compared to like the raw numbers and what the data suggests?
I'm all about the tape. I mean, if I don't see it with my own 2 eyes in game, then I don't believe it. Like the combine, I've said this on the pod multiple times. Combine numbers only prove what you saw on tape, that your eyes weren't lying to you about a guy, that he is as fast as you thought he was. I don't care what a guy looks like when he's catching a ball in shorts or running around out there. I want to see it on game film. I want to see the production. If you're not producing, then I want to see why you weren't producing. Did you have like especially at wide receiver, you're only as good as your quarterback at wide receiver. Let's be honest. People make a lot about like people, like guys route trees when they're coming out of college. Like if your quarterback doesn't have the arm strength to throw an out pattern, then you're not going to run out patterns, or you're not going to complete out patterns, right? So your route tree is only as good as what your quarterback can throw. And then if your quarterback doesn't get you the ball, then it's going to limit your statistics, right? So it doesn't have to be stats driven, but I want to see like Jermaine Burton is a perfect example of this. Like Alabama doesn't throw the ball a lot, right? They played ball control offense this year. Jermaine Burton, from a talent standpoint, might be one of the top 5 wide receivers in this draft. The man just moves differently. Now there's off-field issues, on-field issues, team issues, lots of things that go into it. But from a pure talent standpoint, Jermaine Burton is amazing. His stats aren't necessarily there because who's throwing him the football? They just didn't play like a high volume passing game at Alabama this year.
Yeah, no, I'm a big Jermaine Burton for sure. I think it's crazy the off-field stuff, like, or the character stuff that how much it can impact it. I mean, I'm really curious how far it drives him down. But I mean, man, when it comes out that obvious, or that I guess it's just that publicized that he was on the the bad list at the two schools he was at. But he is so talented. But to the question though, I mean, that's the thing. Like, the production doesn't mean a whole lot in college, because I mean, there's just so many different things that could that colleges run, so many different offenses, and honestly, I mean, it depends on the options. Like, the AD Mitchell is a guy that doesn't have good production right in college. He's someone that the statistics hate, someone that the analytics hate. But if you watch Texas, like, what they have is Xavier Worthy, who does a lot of their main stuff, right? He can run underneath. He can run. He's a good route runner, and he can do a lot of different things. Xavier Worthy. I mean, he's been there for 3 years. He's had time to develop there in Texas, right there. AD Mitchell was just there this last year, after 2 years at Georgia, and you watch what AD Mitchell does for them after having, guys like. Jonathan Brooks to hand off to, who's an explosive back, having Jatavion Sanders, the tight end, who's a guy that you definitely want to throw to over the middle, who's definitely, earned the right, again, someone who's been there for 3 years. All that to say, like, AD Mitchell had a pretty specific job. And yeah, Quinn Ewers, honestly, he stayed in college this year because he wasn't that good. And I really think, AD Mitchell gets kind of, marked for that. That's all. So so that's the question too, where I really value film, like Rocky said. Stats mean, something to an extent, but in college, I don't know. I just feel like there's something to, there's a lot of different things that can happen that add up to maybe a good or bad stats profile.
So I totally agree with you guys on that. And the Falcons pick is in. So eagerly awaiting to see where the Atlanta Falcons decide.
Everyone's
to go.
freaking out. What happened? Jeez.
It's insane. It is literally insane. It is the craziest thing. They took Michael Penix. They took Michael Penix.
The Falcons took Michael Penix?
Yes. They took Michael Penix at 8.
Kidding me?
No, I am not effing kidding you. They paid Kirk Cousins all that money, and they took Michael Penix at effing 8 in the draft. With Roma Dunze still on the board, with every single defensive back on the board, with every defensive lineman on the board, with only 2 tackles off the board.
I thought the Falcons front office was supposed to be good now. What is happening? Where'd all the JJ McCarthy hype go? Michael Penix just went number 8 to the Falcons.
It's smoke season, baby. It's smoke season.
That is,
you never know.
That is the most mind-blowing pick. How long? That is the most mind-blowing top 10 pick.
I feel like you could have gotten him in the second round.
I saw Jordan Schultz tweet it out, and then I refreshed, and then I made myself see it from 4 different sources because I was afraid that somebody was hacked Jordan Schultz's account and was trolling.
So the Titans took JC Latham, and apparently the Atlanta Falcons shocked the world with Roma Dunze still on the board. I know they got Drake London, but come on.
And it's not even
they have no defensive interior. They have no defensive interior.
Chicago's going to get Roma Dunze to pair with Keenan Allen,
wow,
DJ Moore, and Caleb Williams.
Wow,
that's
holy
insane.
Cow! No, because it's an insane pick, regardless of the fact that they just gave Kirk Cousins a 4-year contract like they did. It is unreal that just happened. That they just did that. Because they are not going to have a top 10 pick for a while. Like with Kirk, Kirk's going to make them competitive. Kirk's going to give them I can't. I'm in complete shock. That is unreal that Atlanta would do that.
Our good friend over at the Falconholic, Jenna Kelly, is literally losing her mind over her team taking Penix. She is just complete. She is not liking it. Oh my gosh,
I'm in shock. I did not. I was expecting to be shocked by a trade tonight, not Michael Penix going number 8 overall. What is happening? What is Atlanta doing? Okay,
I
mean, but you just
Penix was probably in the bathroom or off buying a
Man.
hot dog. They're like, your name just got called, bro.
I had this good response teed up to the analytics versus the class conversation that we were having, and I feel like I can't even go back to it because of this. What is happening? What is going on? Why'd they give Kirk Cousins so much money then if they're just going to do that? And I guess the idea being that, like, if they believe that, like, Michael Penix could, like, sit for a year like Mahomes did and be their star quarterback in the future. But, like, in terms of, like, prospect evaluation, like, Michael Penix is nowhere near the level of Patrick Mahomes as a prospect. Like, they have to just fully believe that he can be their franchise quarterback. Like, what is going on? I think Ron's having some internet issues, so I'll try to get Ron back here in a minute. But Rocky, unbelievable that the Bears are about to just get Roma Odunze, and the Bears pick is in already. They barely let any time.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
They're going to get Roma Odunze with Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. Are you kidding me?
This is the best possible scenario for the Chicago Bears. Like I don't care about letting Penix sit for a year. You're letting them sit for 4 years. Like, what? Like this is like Aaron Rodgers and freaking Jordan Love all over again. Oh my God, this is crazy. Yeah, keep taking quarterbacks. You're right, JC. In the comments, to keep taking quarterbacks, because every quarterback that's taken pushes the good players down.
Maybe I do. There was some buzz that, like, NFL teams were a lot higher on Penix than evaluators were, and so maybe there's something to that. Like, maybe the Falcons were like, he's gonna get selected if later in the first round if we don't take him here, and so they just took him there. But, like, you're totally just kicking draft pick value down the drain. Like you're just throwing it in the garbage, because I feel like that's a player that, like, especially if it's a project quarterback, like, that's a guy that you can find in the second round or something like that. Like, or maybe they thought that he was going to go, like, late first round or something, but 8 overall, like, the value that you just trashed. Like, you have Kirk Cousins. Like, what is going on?
Trade back. That's the thing. You have Kirk Cousins.
Bijan Robinson. You have Drake London. You have Kyle Pitts. You just gave Kirk Cousins a bunch of money, and you just drafted him for, for what? To sit him for 2 years?
For 4 years. Kirk Cousins' money is guaranteed. You're going to have Kirk Cousins be the highest paid backup in the history of football? I don't understand it. Are they planning on running a 2 quarterback set? Like, they're just gonna do that whole 2 quarterback set where they, like, snap it to one guy, run out? I have no idea. Like what are you doing, Atlanta? Like, it defies all logic. Like, Harbaugh taking Alt was one thing. The Falcons literally passing on Odunze to take Penix, when Odunze is the one that made Penix look good this year. Like, Penix's accuracy is an issue. And it's because he had wide receivers with such large catch radiuses that bailed him out a lot, that he looked as good as he did. And like, his wide receivers saved him at least 15 interceptions this year. That's a conservative estimate.
Do the Bears have the best wide receiver core in the NFL now?
Yes, they do. They do. And now Caleb Williams is going to be successful.
I know Keenan Allen's going to slow down. Like, he's old, but, like, Keenan Allen, you got that old grizzled veteran who's still talented enough as a route runner. Like, he's going to get open, and he's going to be able to just carve you up underneath, like he always has. DJ Moore coming off of a career year, and DJ Moore, who I think has always been underrated, has always had awful quarterback play, still had a monster year last year with Justin Fields, and was, like, as far as, like, in terms of, like, overall wide receiver play, last year was the best year of DJ Moore's career. And now they had Roma Odunze, who had absolutely no business still being on the board at pick number 9. You want to walk back anything you said about Caleb Williams earlier?
No, I don't. I don't want to walk back anything I said about Caleb Williams. If he better throw for 6,000 yards with this wide receiver. Like if you gave Patrick Mahomes this receiving core, the man would throw for 600 yards a game.
Unbelievable. And their defense is good. Their offensive line got better. Man, Bears fans have to be absolutely thrilled right now. I'm thrilled for Bears fans. Holy hell, that offense could be fun.
Bears have like 2 more picks the rest of the draft, but it doesn't matter. Their entire draft class is an A+ just right here.
Yeah, you got 2 premium first round picks. It doesn't matter what you do the rest of the way. You get one other contributor from this draft class, and it's an A. Like that's how this works. Like you got even if let's say Caleb Williams struggles and doesn't look like a superstar, but looks like a typical rookie quarterback who has ups and downs, growing pains, whatever. But like he's stepping into for a team that had the number 1 overall pick. And I understand it was the Panthers pick, not theirs, but they still had a top 10 pick in the first round of the NFL draft. Like rookie quarterbacks don't step into situations that are this set up already, Rocky. Like they don't step into situations that are this good for them to compete and be and actually perform out of the gate. Like it just doesn't happen traditionally unless the team trades like the Chiefs did to get Patrick Mahomes. And even they sat him for a year. Like Caleb Williams is going to start from day one, and he's got a core of offensive weapons that is absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah, I mean, like people talked about how Patrick Mahomes had one of the best situations in history. This is the best situation that I can remember of a true rookie quarterback stepping into a roster. Like this is unprecedented. And so whatever we said about Ryan Poles, he just lucked into a gold mine. I mean, maybe he knew this was going to happen. He knew it all along, and he was playing chess while everybody else was playing checkers. Who knows? But I mean, he's going to get credit for this for the rest of his career.
There we go. Vikings trade.
Yeah, they traded up. This is JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, number 11 overall, 4th round and a 5th round to the Jets, and the Jets get number 10. So the Vikings get their quarterback. Man, so Atlanta way to make sure that other teams get everything that they want in the NFL draft tonight. Unbelievable. Unreal. Now, I mean, any other trade that happens the rest of the night, I don't think is going to shock me more than Michael Penix going number 8 overall to the Atlanta Falcons.
There's nothing like unless the Chiefs trade up to like 11 with the Vikings to take Brock Bowers, then even that wouldn't shock me.
That would be really cool.
Michael Penix Jr.
Man,
you could duct tape a fire hose into my mouth and turn it on full blast, and I wouldn't be as shocked as I was when I saw Michael Penix Jr. get drafted by the
I'm not going to drink too much because I haven't drank alcohol very much recently, but I'm going to open another beer because I was not expecting Michael Penix to go number 8 overall, Rocky.
I got like 4 articles I got to write tonight, and I got to go easy on the whiskey, but
I feel like that's when Rocky Magaña does his best work after
it is.
Yeah, if you swills off the whiskey bottle, late night prospect write ups. Like I feel like that's when we get the best of Rocky's world.
It is when I'm at my very best.
So okay, we'll digest the Atlanta Falcons thing again for a little bit. I want to get back to the point that I was going to make on the analytics versus production debate that everybody has been having about this wide receiver draft class, because I think it is interesting. And I think because I tend to side on both sides a little bit here, where like I use analytics because I do think that they are useful, but I'm not somebody who's like so deep into the analytics that I like let it consume what I see and let it consume what I watch. And I also don't I used to do a lot of film breakdowns and like a lot of things like that. I don't do a ton of that stuff as much these days as I did when I was younger, when I was like really, really into like watching prospect film and things like that. So So I'm not going to sit here and try to say that I'm as informed as you and like Ron are, because you guys love this stuff. But what I will say, to me, it feels like the case to be made between the analytics of this wide receiver class and what you see on tape in terms of potential of this wide receiver class, I think has a lot to do with kind of what you guys were talking about, is like college situation, and the fact that it just seems like situations in college are a lot worse now than they were at times in the past. And I think some of that is like the way college is starting to utilize players, and some of it is just like lack of prospects. Like you're always going to have like your really, really high end prospects, but like there's a huge shortage on talented offensive linemen right now, like in football. Like, and you see it across the entire NFL, where the biggest issue that holds up some of these other like minor league football leagues is that they don't make enough humans that are the size of offensive linemen to like go dominate. Whereas like you get a lot more like slimmer, athletic framed, like defensive players and things like that than you do guys that can carry around 320 plus pounds, but do it with size and strength. Like they just don't make a lot of guys like that. And so I think it's also just, it's a talent issue. And it's also just like situationally, it just seems like there's a lot of college situations that are just really bad right now, where there's just a lot of poor offensive systems, a lot of poor defensive systems, a lot of things that in college that like, this is how we do things in college, but those don't prepare guys to play in the NFL. And that's a big and hard thing to overcome when you come into the league and you're talking about the next step in the evolution of like talent that you're going up against. I think it all affects all of it. And I think that kind of plays into this debate that everybody's been having about this wide receiver draft class, where I would not be shocked at all if this wide receiver draft class does wind up just being insane, where there's just like production after production after production. And then everybody's like, yeah, screw you analytics nerds. Like we knew what we were talking about when we were breaking down the film. Like I would not be shocked at all. But there's obviously going to be guys that look good in terms of the analytic numbers who are going to flame out in the NFL. Like that just always happens.
Oh, 100%. And I think that one thing that really plays into it that we didn't have in the past was NIL money plays such a huge part in all of this, because for years, Penn State has just said, we're going to out recruit. We're going to get the biggest, fastest, strongest athletes. We're not going to develop them, but we're just going to throw them on the field, and we're going to be bigger, faster, stronger. And that's Penn State football. Like since Joe Paterno, that's Penn State football. Let's be honest. Now every team can do that with NIL, because you don't have to recruit them. You just say, oh, this guy played his freshman and sophomore year at another team. I'm just going to throw some NIL money at him, get him in the transfer portal, and buy him. And you have all these other players who were maybe third, fourth round draft picks who are staying for a redshirt senior season because the Texas Longhorns are giving them $2 million to come over and play for them, right? And so these guys are getting older, but not developing, but making money. And it's just these Power 5 conferences are just stockpiling athletes. And then they're just saying, we're going to throw our athletes out there, and our race horses are going to be faster, stronger, bigger than your race horses. And that's how we're going to play football. And then they get to the NFL and they're 1 to 2 years older than they were before. And they still haven't been developed. Right. You know, I just saw online, Michael, at the end of Kirk Cousins' contract, Michael Penix Jr. is going to be 28 years old. That's older than Patrick Mahomes was this year in the playoffs. Like, that's crazy, right? And so you just like, it's why I don't think you should draft a wide receiver outside of a Power 5 conference either, because of the transfer portal and NIL money. Like, if a guy's old enough to get drafted in the NFL, then why didn't he transfer to a Power 5 conference sometime in those 3 years? Why didn't a Power 5 conference throw a bag at him to bring him in at one of the most important positions?
So JJ McCarthy goes number 10 overall to the Minnesota Vikings, which that was totally expected. And that's been like the most obvious thing about the NFL draft for a while now, is like Vikings aggressively looking to go up and get one of these quarterbacks. And now, and we talked earlier, like, feels like JJ McCarthy's probably going to fall farther than anybody thinks. But then like, I don't know that, like, after Atlanta does that at number 8, then it's kind of like, oh no. Like, we have to go make a move now. And so that affects everything. And also, by the way, this is tremendous for the Kansas City Chiefs. We're through 10 picks. 5 of them have been quarterbacks. There's going to be value later in the first round now that shouldn't be there because of what is happening right now in the first 10 picks. So incredible for the Kansas City Chiefs, especially if the Chiefs can wind up moving up a little bit to go get their guy. Now, maybe the offensive tackle that they really wanted is already off the board. We've already seen a couple of go. Maybe that guy's still available, so maybe there is a trade partner. We'll see what happens with the Chiefs. But also now there's more wide receivers in play that, maybe it's instead of the Chiefs needing to get up to like 17, maybe they only got to get up to 24 now or something like that. Like that, there's more value for the Kansas City Chiefs to try to move up right now based on the way the top 10 picks have gone in this NFL draft. And that's something that smart teams are absolutely capitalizing on. Like, I want to see the clips. We're not going to see it because that's not the kind of thing that the NFL releases. Rocky, I would absolutely love to see the clips from other teams' war rooms. Like, they release those clips, but it's always like when the team's making their selection. I want to see everybody's reaction when the Atlanta Falcons took Michael Penix, number 8 overall. Like, I want to see what other random teams' reactions to that selection and how they reacted and how everybody started getting on the phone, trying to figure out what's going on and see, like, okay, now this guy's going to be available. He might be there. We didn't think there was a chance he's going to be there. Let's get on the phone. Let's move up. Let's make calls. Let's make moves. Like that changed the whole first round, that them deciding to do that at the number 8 overall pick. And then I think probably added even more emphasis to Minnesota that no, we got to move up and we got to go get JJ McCarthy.
That's like there was the old video when the Eagles pass on Justin Jefferson. There is a video out there of the Vikings war room just laughing at the Eagles when they pass on Justin Jefferson. I want to see the Chicago Bears war room when they passed on Roma Dunze and took Michael Penix Jr. Because it's insane to me. And when was the last time we had top 10 all offensive players? There hasn't been a single defensive player selected in this draft so far. And the New York Jets have made their selection as well. And it's an offensive player. And so there's literally, I don't know how long we're going to go until we see a defensive. No, it's Olufashinu. So they passed on the target for Aaron Rodgers in favor of keeping him upright. And so they went tackle. So
who was even the Jets tight end? It was Jack Conklin last year and CJ Uzomah, I think. I don't know what other tight ends.
CJ Uzomah is now with is it the Eagles? I think CJ Uzomah's with the Eagles now.
Yeah, I knew they cut him, but I think he was with the Jets last year. I don't think he was good.
I think he was at one point.
Well, so that's another tackle. It seems like let's go ahead and talk about tackles because that's what the third tackle taken in the first 11 picks and 5 quarterbacks have been taken in the first 11 picks. So and then the other 3 top wide receivers. So yeah, through 11 picks, all offensive players, but it does seem like it's trending in the direction that, this run on offensive tackles, I think, hit early because the Chiefs were probably hoping that maybe Joe Alt was going to slide past the Chargers and the Chargers would be tempted by one of those wide receivers. And that happening has kind of led to this now where we're already through three tackles in the first 11 picks. And so it's seemingly going to get harder for the Kansas City Chiefs to try to make a move and go up and get a tackle if that was the number 1 priority on the board, like has been reported. But I think that means we could still see them be seriously and play for one of these wide receivers that you've talked about, Rocky, like Brian Thomas, still out there. Is he going to slide a little bit more? Is AD Mitchell going to slide a little bit more to where it's reasonable for the Chiefs to move their first round pick and a third round pick or something to try to jump up 7-8 spots to go grab that guy? And I think Kansas City Chiefs fans would be excited by a tackle because it's like, sure, always protect Patrick Mahomes. But if they move up and go get one of these incredibly explosive wide receivers, everybody's going to be absolutely juiced for that.
They'll lose their mind, me included. I mean, it depends on who. If they move up and take Xavier Worthy, I'm going to be kind of mediocre on it. I'll be like, that they
we
move
got our
up.
guy Kramer Sansone jumping in.
Hey, my boy,
What's
my
up,
baby
fellas?
boy. Oh
So,
man,
Kramer-
are you just so happy that Penix is gone because the Raiders aren't going to select him now?
Yes, actually, I actually kind of am. So we don't need 3 quarterbacks in Las Vegas.
Yeah, you just want to ride with Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew.
Hey, I love Gardner Minshew. I've always been a big
I think
believer of
Gardner
Gardner.
Minshew is a fun player too. I wouldn't want my team to have him as their starting quarterback.
He likes Gardner Minshew because he looks like Gardner Minshew's little brother.
You know what?
Oh.
That's a compliment. I would love that.
I do want to say we're almost at
I bet it
1,000
is.
viewers on our stream right now. Let's get over that. We're well over 200 followers on Twitter. If that continues to go up, I already am obligated to eat something gross, Rocky. I don't know if you saw this. Kramer was quick to comment on it.
I saw it real quick.
I said I would eat something gross if we got over 100 followers on launch day before the draft started. We easily surpassed that. Now we're well over 200 followers. So if we continue to go up, if we could get more followers, get up to like 300 or something, I will let you in the comment section, which, by the way, you can post questions, anything, observations, anything you want. We'll try to react to it. We haven't done a good job of that tonight because we've just been rambling about everything that's happening in the NFL draft. But if we get to 300, if we keep cranking this out and doing numbers on Twitter and getting our follower count up as we're launching this brand new thing, Foolish Club Media, I will let you guys in the comment section pick something else that I have to do. But we also have to vote on something gross that I have to eat at some point during the stream, Kramer. And so we can figure that out now that you're here. And we've got someone else's input besides Rocky, because me and Rocky have just been drinking and talking about it.
I asked my 3-year-old when I was putting him to bed tonight, and he said poopy.
Well, hey, the
So
first
I
thing
don't just have poop on hands.
So
I don't have
when
a child.
When I was saw Serda's tweet, I was cleaning my litter box. I'm thinking, you know what? I could bring him some like cat turds if he wants to munch on some of those if he wanted to.
Craig just shows up at your front door with a plastic bag.
I'd like to eat something that's actually not going to make me sick.
What do you have laying around the house?
Poison.
Do you have like hot sauce or?
I mean, I'm sure I
feel like you have hot sauce.
I definitely have a big bottle of sriracha in the fridge.
Just take a shot of that, maybe.
I mean, I've got plenty of stuff. I mean, I've got avocados. Should I just eat an avocado skin on?
Ooh, that sounds actually rough. I mean, or
Make
it
him
could be
suck
kinda nice.
sriracha through a dirty sock.
Gross. Why does it have
supposed
to
to
be
be
that
gross.
bad? I was
just
thinking like something actually edible, not.
You said gross.
You said gross.
Do something gross.
Then again, you did say you eat it.
Gross places.
Yeah, but I was thinking like, I don't know. Pickle
Don't make
juice.
promises you can't
I don't
keep.
like pickles.
Pickle juice isn't gross though.
It is gross.
It's like a pickleback. Like you're drinking alcohol. and
Over
drinking
1,000
pickle juice.
viewers. That's cool.
You're just
Love
taking a pickleback.
Those are always the best.
I don't know. You can get in the comment section. You guys vote on it. You guys just throw out suggestions, and I'll tell you what I got, and we'll see. Because I have a fridge full of things. I have cabinets full of things. But if it's got to be something gross, we got to figure it out. Like we got to decide.
Don't do anything like mold.
What about
Don't
entire
do that.
like
moldy
what about
bread?
just like
Don't do
half
that.
a cup of just plain flour? Just like half a cup of plain flour in your mouth.
That sounds dangerous.
I have a cup. Sounds like a lot. I feel like
It's like doing the cinnamon
like
challenge.
a
almost.
tablespoon of flour would be sufficient, and also gross. And I don't think I could swallow that. I don't think you
As
can. Really
soft as
swallow
Caleb
flour.
Williams
it'll
over
just,
here.
It'll just cake up and get gross.
I have an idea. You have to have this though. Do you have pancake batter?
Maybe if I do, it's got to be like at least 5 years old. I don't know. Maybe
if it's not a solid brick of powder, I mean, it won't be powder. Then just pour some in a cup, put water in it, stir it, then just drink it.
I'll do that. I think that's easy. But also like,
or you could bake, or you can make the pancake. I mean, that's up to you.
Well, how am I going to do the stream and make a pancake?
I mean, they do TikToks or not TikToks. They do Twitch channels of people cooking all the time. Just bring your camera in there.
Well,
I mean, me and Craig can carry
for
the
an
shit.
hour and a half strong, and there's over 1,000 people watching us right now. You guys are absolutely incredible as we're launching this new podcast network. Thank you again. Thank you, Kramer, for joining us. Rocky, been amazing. We're going to be here the rest of the night. We still got a long way to go. We're only on pick number 12 of the first round. Denver Broncos, their pick is in, so we're waiting for them to announce that. See where the Broncos decide to go. But thank you guys
predictable
so much.
And dumb. It's predictable and dumb where they're going.
I assume so, as I would expect from the Denver Broncos and that quarterback room, because Sean Payton thinks that he's the smartest head coach in the NFL and thinks he's going to get something out of Zach Wilson. And they take Bo Nix. 6 quarterbacks in the top 12. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, you'd rather have the 6th best quarterback in the draft than the first
There's still
best
no defensive players off the board.
That means one thing. If the Raiders want to go defensive tackle, they could to pair something up with Christian Wilkins. I mean, if Byron Murphy's still there, I would absolutely love that.
Byron Murphy is still there, yeah.
Or they could go corner out.
This proves to you that the NFL is tired of losing to the Chiefs and they're a bunch of thirsty hoes and they just want to take a swing at quarterback wherever they can get it.
I hope the Raiders get Quinyon Mitchell here. Oh, they need a corner. They need a corner that'd be nice and filthy, and
so we got
probably the best one in the draft.
Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Michael Penix, JJ McCarthy, Bo Nix. Absolutely insane. What's with these old quarterbacks getting drafted so early too?
Like Bo Nix was always going to be a Bronco because he's the coach's son. He throws across the middle. He plays within the offense. He checks the ball. Like he is like the quarterback that Sean Payton can control, and he likes that. He's the guy that's going to go out there and do exactly what he's told to do by his coach. And Sean Payton loves to have that control over the players. So Bo Nix was like a ready-made Denver Bronco, and he's going to be the next failed quarterback for the Denver Broncos. I don't see this being a success.
So Bo Nix has to start here, right? Like he has to start. Zach Wilson, we've already seen what he can do on and off the field. Actually does better off the field if I had.
I feel like Sean Payton is like the most smug head coach in the NFL. And we already know he's kind of a douchebag. Like Sean Payton doesn't seem like a cool dude. Like I said that last year about Josh McDaniels. Like, he's not a cool guy, Kramer. I'm sorry. I know that's your team.
Josh McDaniels.
But like, nobody's like excited to hang out with him. Like, he just doesn't seem like he's a cool dude to spend time with. Nobody's like, let's go grab a beer after work with Josh McDaniels. Like, I feel like Sean Payton's the exact same way. Like, you just don't hear a lot of people be like, I absolutely love Sean Payton. Like, he is a great dude. He is the nicest guy. He is so much fun to hang out with. And he takes so much time and care in the process of trying to develop all these young players. Like, no, I feel like a lot of people are like, yeah, Sean Payton kind of sucks. Like, he's kind of a douchebag. And like, I think that Sean Payton thinks I can take any quarterback anywhere, anytime, and make them into Drew Brees. And I think he still believes that he can do that with Taysom Hill, even though we have a large sample size of him not doing that with Taysom Hill. And so he thinks, well, I got Zach Wilson now. I got Jared Stidham and whoever the hell else is on the roster. And now I got Bo Nix. One of these guys is going to be my next Drew Brees. And I don't think they got a future quarterback on that roster at all. And, oh, by the way, they also haven't had any draft picks in a while because of the Russell Wilson trade, and they just burned the 12th overall pick on Bo Nix.
And Sean Payton looks like the guy that would literally call the HOA on you for stepping on his grass. Like he's like a pocket-sized Nick Saban without the skill of coaching. I'm 100% with you. He is the most annoying human being and a coaching chair in the NFL. And I love that the Denver Broncos gave him that much money. It's astounding to me. But the Las Vegas Raiders have made a selection.
Yeah, they have. I haven't seen it yet.
We'll let it come across. I won't.
While we have Kramer here,
spoil it for you.
Yeah, I mean that's.
It's Raj is talking.
Good pick. Shouldn't have been there because all these other teams are going absolutely insane. But Brock Bowers, that's great. Sorry for Michael Meyer dynasty owners because that absolutely crushes any value you're hoping to get out of that dude this season, probably. But since we have Kramer here, Rocky, he is the perfect person to discuss this pick with you. I'm going to go to the bathroom. Let me go see if I got any pancake batter, and maybe I'll do something gross here in a second when I get back.
Well, Kramer, you guys just drafted potentially the best tight end in the history of your franchise, and that's including, Darren Waller as well. So, I mean, this guy is a slam dunk pick for you guys. And just who's going to give him the football? Gardner Minshew?
I don't know yet. We'll have to find out in camp wise. But my gosh, I wasn't expecting this whatsoever. And I didn't even know if tight end was even on the radar for the Raiders. I didn't think it was because of them getting Michael Mayer last year. But you know what? Best available, a guy that's a playmaker and on offense. I mean, if you wanted to go with a two-headed tight end monster, which they tried to do last year, I believe with it was Austin Hooper possibly that was trying to be up there for the Raiders. This is going to be a 1-2 combo punch. You already know what Mayer can do. You can already know what Brock Bowers does in college, and that's just going to transition easily here into the NFL, I believe. But my gosh, I'm just glad it wasn't a quarterback. I'm glad it was somewhat of a playmaker, a big dude. They still need that offensive tackle, but you know what? With the way how weird this draft works, they might get their guy in the second round right now. Heck, right now, the Chiefs don't have to worry about being traded up right now because people are passing on elite wide receivers and also tackles.
This is 100% best player available is exactly what they're doing. My question is how are they going to beat the cover 2 shell? Because that's exactly what's going to happen because they don't have anybody to stretch the field.
And that's true. And also so Gardner Minshew's arm, the length he can throw it down the field, he lacks that. That's why Aiden O'Connell's there. So that's why I'm curious to see how this position battle is going to go at quarterback. Because if you need a guy to stretch the field, you're going to need Aiden O'Connell to be the quarterback, and hopefully it's Devontae Adams or Jacoby Myers that gets open down the field. So that's how you can honestly beat that cover 2 shell. But it's going to be a weird offense this year, especially with no Josh Jacobs. So I'm kind of curious what they actually do when they come out there in week 1 or heck, even during training camp.
But you say that, but like even the guys you mentioned aren't exactly known as field stretchers.
Well,
right?
They're guys that can do the contested catches. I mean, we know that Jacoby Myers can out jump 2 people at once that are covering him. Devontae Adams has one of the best releases in probably the history of national football. And so there's at least 2 dudes there that you still can't double cover, and someone's going to be open. And I mean, process of elimination, Brock Bowers could be the other guy that might be double covered. Then there's so many type of options out there for that entire offense to thrive. And I still believe too that this is the second best team in this division, and completely a landslide ahead of the Chargers and also the Broncos. It's just now them towing with the Chiefs now.
I wouldn't disagree with you. I would think that I say that the Raiders probably are the second best team in the division, especially with this draft pick. But I think there's definitely still an ocean divide between them and the Chiefs at this point. The funny thing is with this Bowers selection, this is it's interesting that a defensive head coach went offense
exactly
when there was not a single defensive player selected. But then also this offense that they're building is the least Raiders offense I think I've ever seen. You know, like this is kind of proof that they're doing things a little bit different, I would say, because I mean, no longer are you out there just wasting a first round draft. Like the Raiders should have taken Xavier Worthy if they were staying true to their Raider roots.
That's very true.
Let's be honest.
No, you're right. It's kind of like taking was it Darius Hayward-Bay? They took him in the first round. Like that's a fast guy that they liked and they loved, and we saw he ended up becoming a legendary Steeler at some point later on in his career. I like what they're doing. It's something different. I was getting tired of seeing everything Josh McDaniels was, because he was not a good head coach whatsoever. We saw them with a stint in Denver, even going back to being a reason why he was good in New England because of Bill Belichick. We can all just agree about that. It's a different Raiders team. There's no more ground and pound, I don't think. We're actually going to see them start throwing the football a lot more, and that's the direction of the NFL is going. I mean, so there you go. Like they're finally here, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, this is crazy. Just thinking about it in the
fact that he fell in the long run. So wild.
He fell that far,
especially 6 quarterbacks taken already.
I didn't think he was making it past the Jets. I didn't think the Jets were going to go.
Why wouldn't the Jets take him? Why wouldn't the Jets take him? Like they need a tight end. CJ Uzomah is like 80 years old, and having
they don't have CJ Uzomah anymore. They don't have Uzomah anymore.
Who's even their tight end in New York?
Their tight ends are Tyler Conklin, Jeremy Rucker, Kenny Yeboah, and Zach Kuntz.
Because I really thought that was the Jets' prime spot was taking Bowers right there. But you know what?
Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm going to probably watch so much Brock Bowers tape tonight before I go to sleep, because I didn't watch tape beforehand because I didn't think it was even possible for him to get to 13.
Well, here's the thing: don't expect him to be an inline blocker. He's a big slot. Like
that's why I'm
calling him. Yeah, calling him a tight end is in name only. It's kind of like how Travis Kelce was being used kind of in his heyday for the Chiefs, like when he was younger. Like he's gonna be in the slot, he's gonna be attacking the seams, he's gonna be wide shallow crossing across the middle, he's gonna be doing some out runs. He's an excellent route runner, he's an athlete, he's great after the catch. He's gonna be an excellent addition for you guys. I am worried though that with Devontae Adams getting a year older, with Jacoby Myers not being like an outstanding athlete, I do have concerns about them being able to stretch the field, especially with them not being able to ground and pound. Like, how are they going to?
Zamir White looked really good last year, though, towards the end of the season, especially when Josh Jacobs was hurt. He stepped up tremendously. Actually, outperformed Josh Jacobs last season, I think.
Teams are going to force them to run the ball. I mean, that's just the case. Yeah, go ahead.
They have Alexander Madison and Zamir White back there, so I mean, that's two decent running backs they can trot out there.
So I found pancake batter and put 2 big spoonfuls of it into this cup and mix some water in with it. I'm gonna drink it, but I want everyone to know that
let's see the
I
cup.
definitely bought that pancake batter like 5 years ago and maybe used it once in the entire time, and for some reason it is still in my cabinet and I still have it. It has not moved since. So I can't imagine how gross this is. I don't know if there's an expiration date on pancake batter. I don't think it'll make me sick though.
No, you'll be fine.
But so what we're gonna do here, and by the way, I think we lost a follower on Twitter, so we're moving in the wrong direction. So we're gonna need everybody to go follow us on Twitter at Club Foolish, and you could subscribe to us on YouTube as well at Foolish Club Media. Launch a brand new thing with a lot of the shows that you know and love from the Arrowhead Pride Podcast Network. Obviously, we shut the doors there a few weeks back, but we're trying to keep some of the shows that you know and love covering this Kansas City Chiefs team going, and would appreciate all the love and support that you guys could give us. So I'm going to drink this disgusting pancake batter. And while I do that, I'm going to try to respond to this question from KB. So here we go.
Oh, that's thick.
That's what she said. Never mind.
I think it could have been worse. It wasn't that bad. I expected it to be a lot more chalky than it was, until it gets stuck in my throat a lot more than it did. So,
it doesn't count. It doesn't count. You got to do something else.
I mean, I'll try a beer or something.
It wasn't gross.
I don't know what else we got to do. I don't want to get drunk tonight, but we are celebrating launching this new channel, and all the support you guys have shown us today. I can't express to you how good it makes me feel, and all of the stress that I have been going through the last few weeks, and to be able to get this thing off the ground with our friends from the Fans First Sports Network, and to see all the support and love you guys have shown us is absolutely incredible. But from KB, what do you think of the current wide receiver room? How many games is Rashee Rice going to get suspended? Anyone on KC traded tonight? I don't think the Chiefs are going to trade anybody, but it would be nice to see them try to move up in the draft and make a move. Rashee Rice, I mean, it's tough to say, but I would have to imagine, just based on the circumstances, I wouldn't be shocked if it's like 6 to 8 games. Like, I think it's going to be substantial just based on what we know, but I don't want to get too much in the legal trouble until we kind of see how all of that stuff plays out. And as far as the current wide receiver room goes, like, if Rashee Rice plays and with Hollywood Brown, I think it's good right now. I think it's better than it was last season, but we got to see them make a move tonight and hopefully go get another wide receiver or come out of this draft this weekend with another wide receiver. And let me welcome in our good friend, Ron Hughley, to the stage on NFL Draft Night 1. Launch Foolish Club Media. Ron, hanging out all night.
Hey-o.
6 quarterbacks, top 12 picks. Absolutely insane NFL draft. I have never seen anything like this. How we doing?
That's a lie. You've seen something like this before, sir. We say this every year. The Michael Penix Jr. kind of caught you off guard just a taste. I'm good, man. I'm excited. First off, the new digs. I'm feeling it. I'm loving it here. I'm foolish, so I'm good with it. We're
still a bare bones operation. Had to put all this together in a few days, but the fact that we're up and running at all, and you guys are watching us and hanging out with us, tremendous. We got a lot of stuff.
Listen, we're the People's Chiefs Podcast Network. We're like the underground coming to you right here.
And listen, and I look amazing. And I
As
got
always.
a fresh haircut, and I look great. Got a little wine, if you're wondering, a little Pinot right here, Napa Valley. All right,
Okay. Okay.
always go even years, and it's good. Listen, I did not like that we're going to have to, and I'm sure Kramer loves it, that we're going to have to deal with bad hair day for the next 10 years. Brock Bowers, I mean, it's like he's got tops, Serda. He's got 18 months with that hair before he's going to have to let it go. And I feel bad. And you can tell he's cognizant of it. He sat down, saw that camera. Did you see his family? They do not look happy to be Raiders.
I feel like he's gonna Dan Sorensen that thing. Like he's just gonna let it go forever.
Yeah, just might as well. But he's a really good football player. I was thinking maybe they wouldn't go there. But I'm telling you, I'm loving this for the Chiefs right now. There's this run on quarterbacks that maybe two work, but this run on quarterbacks, and now these offensive linemen are still there, the corners and the receivers, and even still the offensive linemen that they could be there for them if they want to sit at 32 or if they want to get aggressive and come up a little bit to go get a player that they need. This is falling pretty good for the Chiefs because all the positions that you would think that they want to go after, there's going to be pretty good football players. There's not a defensive player off the board yet. we're at pick 15. There's no defensive player off the board yet. So this is setting up nicely.
That has to be a record, right? Like that has to be an NFL record that we're nearly halfway through the draft.
It is. It was 7.
Yeah.
It was 7, and we're up to 14.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah, so
and this just came across, guys. Just going back to the Penix thing for a moment, the Falcons did not notify Kirk Cousins that they had intentions of drafting Michael Penix.
Did he get 100 guaranteed? Was that 100 million? Wow. What's the plan here? Because they picked that quick. Like they had the number 1 pick. That pick was in quick for them. That is interesting.
You didn't just pick a rookie quarterback. You picked an old rookie quarterback. That's the thing. Like it's not like you took JJ McCarthy, who's like barely 21 years old. Like the dude is 24. The guy's been able to go to buy a beer for almost an entire college career at this point.
What's been I'm coming in late. What's been the conversation on Penix?
I mean, what the hell are they doing?
It's shocking. Yeah,
he's also inaccurate though. Like his wide receivers made him look a lot better than he actually was. Plus, there's medical concerns. I mean, he's going to be 28 when Kirk Cousins' contract is up. He's going to be older than Patrick Mahomes.
Kirk's not going to play that contract out.
No, I don't mind.
I like him.
A team. I don't mind a team taking a swing on a quarterback. It's just for all the hype that was building for JJ McCarthy, and then there was these last minute reports that like NFL teams are higher on Michael Penix Jr. than consensus is or whatever. Like, there's no way anybody thought at number 8 Atlanta was going to draft him, and it's just like, okay, but if Atlanta's in win now mode right now, you just gave Kirk Cousins all of this money, and you're trying to capitalize on this window. 8 overall with Rome Odunze still on the board. I know you got Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Bijan Robinson. But Rome Odunze was on the board, and you let him fall to the Chicago Bears to take Michael Penix?
I disagree with you. I disagree with you in this. It's the position.
Got another Ron in the group right now, too. So welcome in, Ron Cop.
Yeah, man.
What's up, Ron?
That's right. Team Black Wife, baby. Team Black Wives in the building. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No, listen, I disagree with you with the position. If you really believe like this is a quarterback that is the quarterback for the future. Like if you believe he's a guy, now Rocky clearly doesn't, but if you're the Falcons and you believe it, like I don't care about Rome. I don't care about any of that. If you think this is going to be the dude, you go get him. Now I do find it odd with the Kirk Cousins thing. That's odd, but if Michael Penix Jr. turns out to be, a great quarterback in this league, nobody will give a rip about all that stuff. I like him. I was shocked. Like I'm not a JJ McCarthy guy. I'm sorry. I don't see. I can't think of. I talked about this before. Like, what quarterback is like above average in the league in like the last 5-10 years, in which when they were in college, they weren't really the centerpiece and the offense wasn't directed around them. Like, how many of those guys are walking around? It's like Brock Purdy.
No, I 100% agree with you. Like, they didn't
You know what
trust
I
him
mean?
to carry
Like
the
that.
team at
That's
all.
weird, man.
I'm not. Yeah, it is weird.
Like, yeah,
Like,
I mean,
yeah, they're
4
their coach
touchdown
didn't
passes in your
trust
last
him.
7 games. Like, that's weird.
Yeah, no. The coaching staff didn't trust him. He didn't go out and win them the national championship. Like, he didn't carry the team. And it's not that I don't like Michael Penix. It's that I don't like Michael Penix in this situation. I don't like Michael Penix for the Atlanta Falcons after they went out and spent all that money on Kirk Cousins. I just don't see the vision on it.
The vision is they must have fallen in love with this dude and think he is it. And I can give a pass for the position. Like I can like, for me, I can give a pass for the position. Like, if I don't give a rip if the Chiefs had signed Alex Smith to $100 million deal. If they were going through the process and they ran into Patrick Mahomes and they were like, dude, I know we just signed Alex, but we think this dude is going to be special.
So the question is then, did they not start scouting players till after free agency then? Because that's the whole thing. Like, where was their area scouts? Where was their cross scouting to verify the grades that they had? Because if you had this grade on Michael Penix that he was the dude, then why go out and give all that money? Like, you go out and sign a Jacoby Brissett as a stopgap if you're going to take Michael Penix. You don't go out and give that bag to Kirk Cousins if you're that much in love with Michael Penix. Before free agency started, you're already building your draft board.
Yeah, you're building your draft board, but I think it's different when you meet the guy. And Raheem Morris, the coach that hadn't been there that long, you meet the guy and you fall in love. I mean, you can't help who you fall in love with. Now, I mean, if you fall in love with him, you got to go. And it's at that position. We ain't talking about a defensive lineman or a linebacker. We're talking about a quarterback. It is very odd. The injuries. He's 30. Like, that's a weird gamble when you paid that much to him. And I'm sure Kirk's not fired up. Makes me also wonder how Kirk is doing with that Achilles. But I mean, I will give a pass because of the position they attack.
So now that we've got both rounds in here, and we did just have the first defensive player selected in the entire first round, almost halfway through the first round, which is absolutely insane. And there's almost 1,200 people watching us right now. So again, please go follow us on Twitter at Club Foolish. We got to get to 300 tonight on launch day. We got to get to 300. NFL draft night 1. You guys have been absolutely amazing. Do what?
Have you eaten anything weird yet, Serda?
I just drank pancake batter because that was Kramer's suggestion, and I happened to have
weird. It was just an idea.
I definitely have missed some stuff.
Hey, listen. Hey, man, we've grown up. We got to stop doing this. There's no, you ain't got to drink pancake batter. All right, this is a long time. Like,
but this
we ain't got to do this, man. Just give that great content.
This is a celebration.
You're 35.
Day. I'm pretty sure I've been so stressed the last few weeks. I got some, you probably can't see it on video, but I've got like spots that look like they're grayer than they were a few weeks ago. Like I've been going through it. So I am happy to celebrate with everybody who has supported us today by drinking or eating whatever, as long as it's not like poison and doesn't make me sick. I will do whatever I got to do, especially if we get to 300 followers, and that's going to keep going up as we go on throughout the night. So please continue to follow us on Twitter at Club Foolish. And you can follow us on YouTube as well at Foolish Club Media. Let's get those numbers up. Let's keep going. Let's keep having a strong night 1 of the NFL draft. But as this first round continues to play out in shocking fashion, in my honest opinion, like I think this board is falling perfectly for the Chiefs, especially to try to trade up to, like mid to early 20s, where we talk about Brian Thomas Jr., AD Mitchell, like some of these guys that, you didn't think were going to be available for them at 32. If those guys are on the board, and the Chiefs have reportedly been aggressive about trying to trade up to go get one of those wide receivers, and we've already seen a little bit of a run on the tackle position, which is their other number 1 need, Like, this is falling perfectly for them. And I feel like last year we kind of had the same feeling going into the back half of the first round, where it's like there's a lot of wide receivers on the board still for the Chiefs, Zay Flowers, Quentin Johnson, guys like that. And then there was that late run where everybody got scooped up that the Chiefs would want before they wound up picking. I kind of feel like that's not going to be the case tonight because this class is so deep at the wide receiver position. Like, if you guys, we've already talked to Ron Kopp about it a little bit, but like this is a perfect scenario for the Chiefs to go out and get another explosive playmaker for Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, it definitely is, just because, like you're saying, the tackle class, I was all for trading up for one of these guys if they really wanted to, but it's Olu Fashanu went at 11. I mean, that was really the guy I was hoping would maybe get to the late teens. Yeah, I think there's just too many receivers to choose from once you get to that range. I mean, they could even trade back if it keeps pushing down, right? Like, they could trade back into the top of the second, feel like they're getting value and taking, a Lad McConkey if one of their guys goes a little early. Brian Thomas Jr. is not getting past Buffalo, right? Like, he's the perfect Josh Allen receiver. So for whatever reason, they can't get in front of them if they want to get him, and they feel like they can get better value at a receiver just a few picks later. There's a few other guys, but no, it does set up, and there's just no way they don't pick on offense and address the receiver position tonight if it keeps falling this way. Like, there's no way they're going to surpass on some of these guys. For defense, they've already spent 4 straight first-round picks on defense. I think they could use an offensive pick, in one of these top picks, which they rarely get, right? They rarely are picking here just because they usually trade it away, or they do something with this. So let's get a receiver here. I'd love to see it.
I find it interesting because I don't think the Chiefs they don't need to trade up. They don't need to do anything. They just need to stay put. Like, literally, it's falling into their hands to where if you trade up at this point in time, you're honestly hurting yourself because of the value that you have with other picks that you could possibly get some other person later on in the draft. Like, I think you're sitting up just fine. We're going to start to see a lot more defensive players going to come off the board here soon. You might have a very slim pickings of what type of tackle you want if you are going to go that route, but there's a lot of talented wide receivers at 32 that's going to be there still.
See, I tell you what, guys, if there's a defensive back you want, if there's a team who wants a defensive back, I'm looking to trade back right now. I mean, honestly, if you have similar grades on any of these defensive backs, I'd be looking to trade back and accrue extra picks because, there's been another defensive player just selected, but other than that, 2 defensive players selected. Like, this is where I think that teams should start looking to trade back.
See, of course, Serda's going sexy, explosive receiver right now. That's what he wants.
That's my position.
When you are confident with Boys to Men's Wanye Morris over there at left tackle, I am not. and I will turn this over to you all, Ron. You seem like BK. You just dive into it, and you've got all these names. I'm just like, I still see guys. Speaking of BK, there he is. I see guys like Mims from Georgia, the offensive tackle. I see Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma. Like, to me, that's where I'm just saying the position. And I'm sure I think they can get receiver with this receiver class so deep later. And we saw what they did with Rashee Rice before he was driving. We saw what he did with Rashee Rice, and they were able to pick a guy up there like that. They need to me a left tackle. That if I'm going to make a move up at all in this draft with the receiver depth and now corners getting pushed back to here, like, it would be offensive tackle. You don't see, because Ron, you said that maybe that was the tackle you wanted. You don't see any other tackle that you feel is worth right now to go get for the Chiefs, because that's the position to me.
Dude, my thing is, like, from here on, you're getting all projects, like all guys you have to really project to play left tackle. And you're not getting guys maybe that you feel good right away starting. I mean, I love a guy like Kingsley Suamataia from BYU. I really do. But he is a project. Like, I don't know if I feel good about him protecting Mahomes' blindside right away. And so that's where if it's a first-round pick, you kind of have to expect that. So the thing is here, like, the thing we don't know is, like, what the tackle class is kind of shaking out. Like, the GMs may know this, like, is a guy like Kingsley going to go in that 30 range, or does he drop more into the 40-50 range where maybe, they stay put here and then make a move on day 2 and get a development left tackle? Because there's guys on day 2 that I like as well, like the Yale left tackle. I think if you're getting a project, I think he's a good pick. And he fits a lot of the Chiefs' molds. I'm not going to say.
Yeah, I love the yell guy. I think also to kind of piggyback on you, Ron, regardless of what if the Chiefs do trade up for any of the tackles here, there's not a single tackle left in the draft where you're not still going to have to go out and sign a vet like insurance policy like they did with Donovan Smith. Like the Chiefs still are going to have to go out and sign a vet tackle in this offseason after the draft, because even Amarius Mims, if his talent level is good enough to start right off the bat, his injury history and his lack of experience doesn't give you enough of a track record that you could just plug and play him at left tackle week 1 and feel good about that without having an insurance policy to kind of there as a fallback And so I think that, yeah, that could they trade up and get a tackle, but they're still going to sign a tackle in the offseason as well, I think.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, if they really believe in the long-term future, and that's what I'm saying. I do really about the BYU guy, especially. I mean, Tyler Guyton is a guy that, Rocky, we've talked about for AP. But if they really believe in the future, maybe it is worth the 32 pick or whatever it takes to get him. I get it. If they really believe in him protecting Mahomes' Brownside in the long term, but if this feels like if you have to develop a guy, I feel like you maybe want to pick him a little later, and there are development tackles as you go on. And there's some really fun receivers they could take at 32 and just kind of make up for a little bit of what they could be, lacking in the left tackle department.
Why not Fatanu? Have you guys brought him up and I missed it?
I guess he's still going. He's still on there, isn't he?
Yeah, Troy Fatanu.
I love Fatanu.
That's the guy that I would move up for.
I don't disagree with Troy Fatanu. I mean, I got some concerns about his strength profile in the NFL and if he can hold up from an anchor. But from a technique standpoint, if he can get in the weight room and add a little bit of bulk and get a little bit stronger, then 100% BK. I think that'd be a home run selection. I think he is the closest thing to being a day one guy. Maybe his ceiling isn't as high as some of these other guys, but his floor is a lot higher.
Yeah, and that's what they need, right? Like, offensive line is a floor position. I'm not going out here now. Don't get me wrong. If they draft Amarius Mims, I'll be thrilled about it, and that's your home run swing. But on the offensive line, you just need to raise the floor. You've got to get guys that are really solid, and I think Fatanu can come in and from day one be a starter for you. Like, if they traded up at, I don't know, 22, somewhere like that, or even here in the next few picks, and they decided to take Troy Fatanu, I'd be like, that's awesome. Sounds fantastic. Just put that guy in and figure out wide receiver later.
It's just the position for me. Like, the wide receiver class is so deep.
Exactly.
And right now the corners are getting pushed back too. And I would say for me, the glaring thing is at least future wise, at the very least, left tackle, having someone there. And like I said, I'm just not comfortable with Wanye Morris and just putting it in, as the future pick right now. So that's to me where I'm looking at that position. Of course, BK, Serda's just flashy. He just wants some sort of.
I get it. Like, if they traded up for Brian Thomas here, that it would be a worthwhile scenario to go get him specifically. But other than him, like, I like Xavier Worthy a lot. I don't know that I want to trade up for him. If he's there at 32, go ahead and take him. But I'm not going to trade up to go get him because you've got so many other guys in this class that can come in on day one with pick, if they wanted to move up to 55, they could get one of these other 10 guys and they would be a starter for you. The thing about tackle, to your point, Ron, I think all of you guys are kind of here with him. Like, there's probably 2 guys left with Mims and Fatanu that can come in and on day one, you can expect them to start for you. Everybody else is more of a developmental guy.
Yeah, I'm glad you highlighted Fatanu, honestly, because I was just kind of assuming he was off the board too. I should have definitely been clear because I love him too. He's definitely a little. He's got the arm length. He's definitely not the big hulking guy that we all kind of assume Andy likes, but he's definitely someone that, hey, you can start right away at left tackle. And then, however it goes down the line, I mean, he could, be a long-term, all-pro guard kind of guy. I mean, he's a really good player. So, I mean, no matter where, I like you pointing him out. I'm glad we made sure we didn't overlook him.
You guys are being absolutely incredible tonight. You guys, and as well as the people that are watching us.
You ain't got to tell me. I know I
am. Listen, by the way, continue to follow us on Twitter, please, at Club Foolish. Get those numbers up, and I will continue to drink pancake batter or do whatever I got to do.
You're 35. Stop, man.
But 34. I'm not 35 yet. I'll start making some hard life decisions on September 7th when I hit 35.
I turn 40 next week.
Woo! No, offensive tackle. Okay, listen, I get it. Yes, That's the smart thing to do. That's shore up the offensive line, make sure Patrick Mahomes is protected, especially when you look across the NFL and you see all of these bad offensive lines. Like there's way more bad offensive lines than there are like really good offensive lines in the NFL at this point, because it's just hard to find good offensive linemen, especially tackles.
Serda, what are you about to say that's going to make sense? You just literally let off by saying, all right, guys, tackle. Yeah, that's the smart thing to do.
That
to
is the smart
Patrick
thing
Mahomes.
to do. That's
where
the
are
safe
you?
thing
Where
to
are
do.
you
That's,
about to go?
They take an offensive tackle. Every Chiefs fan in Kansas City tonight is going to be like, all right, good job. Protect Patrick Mahomes. Don't have an issue.
Where are you going?
Don't have an issue with it unless that guy sucks. It's just fun, man. I want to have fun. I want to watch an explosive offense with Patrick Mahomes that can take the top off of a defense and that can hit Rashee Rice in the short intermediate, that Hollywood Brown streaking downfield the way Sammy Watkins used to be when you had to worry about Sammy and Tyreek Hill taking the top off the defense. And I think the Chiefs defense is still going to be really, really good next season. Like, maybe it's not going to be quite as elite without L'Jarius Sneed, but I still think they have a chance to have a top 10 defense in the NFL on top of improving the offense. And I've also seen this Chiefs staff kind of get by with subpar offensive lines. And so if you expect the interior of the offensive line to be great, if you get Jawan Taylor to be a little bit better next season and get all of his issues figured out, and then you try to take another tackle like later in the draft that can come in, compete with Wanye and see what you got there and figure things out, because this staff has also done a really good job at developing offensive linemen, then let's see that explosive offense again, on top of having what, in my opinion, is going to be a top 10 defense, because that's fun. And I am in favor of fun. So I root for fun when it comes to drafting NFL prospects.
How are we feeling about tipping picks on this stream?
Go for it. I don't care.
Okay.
Dallas is, I mean, Vikings already took their person. It's been announced on the live feed.
There's one more that's about to go, and it affects the Chiefs. The Bengals are going to take Amarius Mims, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So that one's a little bit of a bummer.
So that makes sense. The Chiefs offensive line is much better than the Bengals offensive line.
Yeah, the Bengals had to take Amarius Mims here or Fatanu. And then also just a little bit of housekeeping, because we were talking during it. The Vikings traded back into the first round to take Dallas Turner, edge rusher from Bama. So,
wow, to go with Jonathan Grenard. That's a nice little pair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So with Mims off the board, there's basically now one day one starter available at tackle. So if the Chiefs are going to move up, my guess would be you're doing it for either Fatanu or Brian Thomas Jr. at this point. The spot where you can do it is 19, the next pick that's up, because that's your first and second round pick by the chart.
And the thing is, I don't think the Chiefs think like Serda is thinking, but in terms of, hey, I just want to have fun, guys. But I do think they are confident in offensive line, like in development of offensive line, and not needing to go at that position in the first rounds. I think they're confident in developing that. Like, I think there's probably something Andy Heck believes he could fix or make Wanye Morris work in a way that I'm not willing to take a chance on. Like, I do think there are probably guys like the BYU tackle that Ron was talking about, and that could be later down the line, that they feel like they can coach up and get the most out of. So, and I don't think they're afraid of finding another Donovan Smith, which I don't love. But I don't think they're afraid of that.
And 100%, I agree with you. And I think that the thing is, you look at the strength of this coaching staff, it is in the offensive line coaching, from Andy Reid all the way down to Andy Heck, right? You know, it's not in their wide receiving coaches and development. So if you're going to take a swing on a high up,
just catch it straight.
Yeah, I know. I like Connor Embry. I think he got way too many strays last year. Like he did not get the credit that he deserved for Rashee Rice's development last year. Like that's a fact. Like, I don't have anything against Connor Embry. Let's not pretend for a second that he's Andy Heck. Like maybe he will be someday, but he's not right now. Like, he just hasn't been in the game long enough to be him.
That offensive line situation was hanging on by a thread at moments last year with Andy Heck out there as well. So I just, like, it did seem like, man, at some point maybe they might need to upgrade the talent to also to go with what Andy Hick is doing. That's just me. It's just for me. I know you want to have fun, but my thing is I want 15 to be able to do what 15 can do, and I think you want to protect up front.
What I'm curious,
you guys have mentioned the interior a few different times. We got to remember the interior has one more year of being what it is currently. Like the odds are pretty strong that at least one of the two guards and maybe both of them will be gone next year because of the cap stipulation of where they're at right now. So that's something else to keep in mind is you want to strengthen your tackles because your guards might be weaker next year next to them.
And to that point, too, honestly, I will say, like, Wanye could turn into a guard, and he'd be a good guard, I think. Honestly, I really think Wanye could be a good guard. He's got the run blocking stuff. I feel like that was a strength of his right away last year. Like, he can definitely just come off and move guys and be a people mover to an extent. And obviously, you're a little less exposed, and he already has that tackle experience. Like, he might just end up being a really good guard in pass protection, too. So I think you can kind of factor that in, and maybe even vice versa with Fountain. Again, like, maybe right away you feel like he's the best left tackle option. Maybe you still have that in your mind next year and look at left tackle in next year's draft too. And then you could slide Fountain in the future if you feel like he's more of a guard. But I think he could play tackle. I wouldn't
be shocked at all to see the Chiefs address the guard position late in this draft with a local prospect.
Not even
like
late.
KT Leviston or somebody like that, like with like 173, if he's still there, like a guy who played tackle in college, but probably profiles better moving inside. I could definitely see them. Yeah. Or earlier with a guy like Christian Mahogany, like if they want to take a swing, a guy like that would fit them perfectly.
Hey, we're approaching like a possible like trade situation with the Chiefs, possibly if they were to move up. Many teams, they're not going to want to answer this phone call, right? They don't want the Chiefs to 3P. In order for the Chiefs to trade up, that's, I think, would be the best case scenario for them. Like, yeah, we're getting our guy to put us over the hump right now.
I want to bring this to everybody because I was talking about this earlier. I think teams refusing to trade with the Chiefs is so stupid.
It basically happened last year, though. Like,
just be better. If you're jealous that they're better than you are, just be better. Like, they don't have to get one over on you by making you a trade. Like, you can get good value out of the trade. You shouldn't just be like, no, we don't take phone calls from Kansas City because they win championships and we don't. Screw them. That's so stupid. Like, just be better at your jobs.
Later in the draft you go, I think it'll be harder for the Chiefs to trade up. Like, the closer you get to the people they're going to play in the playoffs, the less likelihood they're picking up the phone. But right now, these teams are trying to get in playoff contention, so if they can build their rosters better, I think these are the teams that will pick up the phone.
See, I think the Rams would pick up the phone. I don't think the Steelers or Dolphins would. Eagles definitely would. They don't care. Packers might, Cowboys might. You're entering a zone right now where these are the teams that would potentially be willing to do it.
I think well-run teams are thinking about themselves and what can be done well for them. Idiots are doing other things. So I don't.
So here's the question:
Jerry Jones.
Okay, I mean, we laugh at Jerry. Jerry and them have run the Cowboys well. They just choke in the
draft. He's the one that went on the record saying that he didn't pick up the Chiefs phone call last year, though.
Yeah,
like he was on the record saying that he didn't pick up the phone for the Chiefs.
Supposedly, right? They were taking the guy they took. They were wanting the guy they took, right? They were wanting Ozzie. So,
which would have been a disaster because he did not play well last year. So we're talking about potentially trading up. The cost right about now is your first and second round pick. Is there a player left that you guys would be willing to give up 64 to go up to select right now?
Brian Thomas Jr. Hands down.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a wide receiver, right?
I would still be fine with Fountain trading up for Fountain if they really felt like, and that's the thing with all these picks. It's like if Veach is convicted enough to do something, I'm going to feel good about it. So in that hypothetical, yeah, I'd be all about it if they,
Would you rather do that or wait till 25? Because once you get to 25, the cost drops to your third round pick, and now you've still got your 64.
Well, you're playing a math game at this point too, right? Every pick that passes, you're getting closer. So I think that if you have two guys in your mind, you say, I'm okay with Brian Thomas Jr. or Troy Fontenot. You wait, and as soon as one of those goes off the board,
How are you guys
Then you
feeling about
move
the
up to
corners?
the
Like
next one.
all of the
Yeah.
corners
Yeah,
are still there too.
Well, so
yeah,
that's
I
a-
would, like,
All
what
of them, yeah, that's
defender
crazy.
Is there that you'd be like,
That's
yeah,
true.
okay,
All of
I'm
them
really,
are.
I'm
Well,
thrilled with that.
I personally
like, I
want the
think
white
that-
corner. I want the white corner. That's what
He's a
want.
Cooper
Legarius
John,
Sneed
Cooper
clone.
DeJean.
No joke.
I
He's
want it.
amazing.
I want Cooper.
He's great.
I mean, for a
I wouldn't
kid to
hate
be
him.
from
I think the Kool-Aid McKinstry. Sorry, go ahead.
No. The hell with Kool-Aid. No, I want the kid that's got the adversity. Do you know how good you have to be from Sioux City, South Dakota, and go to Iowa and be a consensus first round pick and be the first white corner since Jason Sehorn? Like, do you know? Like, I think he's probably a top 10 pick.
Got a point.
And the biases has him in the late 20s. You know how good you have to be from Sioux City, South Dakota to Iowa and be a white corner, and people say, yeah, that guy's a first rounder. I mean, he's probably really good. Really good.
I don't
I
disagree.
know there's some guys got some biases. I would, and he's and all honestly, he's the type of guy that can do a lot of different things. That can play a lot of different. Like that, people think he can play safety, slot, outside. Can do a lot of different things. You said Sneed clone. He can blitz. There's that's the kind of guys that we're seeing Spags likes to play with. I wouldn't mind having the first white corner since Jason Sehorn. That's really
The only question with him is he didn't play a ton of man. He was all zone in college, right? And so I'm not saying he can't play man, but he just hasn't, right? So that's the only unknown about Cooper John. I think that he could do it, but he just hasn't yet.
So I'll let you guys know.
I'll say doesn't mean can't.
I'll talk to you guys later. Keep up the good work. Keep drinking pancake batter or whatever you need, Serda. But yeah, let's keep it up.
Cream dog.
Yeah, please don't call him that. I don't like cream dog.
No, I'm with Joe on that. We need to stop encouraging this. This is
I don't like that.
Cream dog.
I don't like.
What's wrong with cream dog? You know who called
cream dog's been cream dog since before AP.
No,
like
I was talking about the pancake
Ron
batter.
Hansen
I was talking about the
since
pancake
Sports
batter.
Radio started that.
I was talking about stop encouraging the pancake batter.
Yeah, that's silly. We've got to stop doing that. I mean, you're going to have heartburn. You already have it. Like, I mean, we're going to
I actually don't feel too bad. That pancake batter, easily 6 years old. Easily 6 years old. I remember when I bought that, and it was like 2 places that I lived to go, and for some reason it has survived multiple moves.
That doesn't make it any better. That's
I'm not proud of it. I don't know why I still have it. I think after we wrap up tonight, I'm gonna throw it away because I should not still have it.
The Rams are getting they're going to try to get their replacement of Aaron Donald here, aren't they? They get Murphy.
I mean, supposedly the Rams were looking to trade into the top 10 to take a wide receiver. I mean, them getting another wide receiver to pair with Luka and Cooper Kupp would be very interesting.
They're going edge here.
Okay.
Yeah, they
needed it. They need edge help. So that makes sense for the Rams.
So that's the third straight defensive lineman, right?
Yeah.
Select. Well, no, we're third out of the last 4 picks. Yeah. So we got Byron Murphy, Dallas Turner, then Amarius Mims went, and then now Jared Verse
and Latu before then. Latu.
Yeah, and Latu before then. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. If we're talking about Fountainu, he is a probably strong option for Pittsburgh or Miami, right? Like both of those teams could use a guy like him who could kind of play just anywhere you need him and be solid on the offensive line. So I imagine he's probably going to go to one of these 2 spots, and then that dream might be dead because I mean,
they both have interior and tackle.
Right.
Pittsburgh feels like a Barton spot.
That's true, though.
Very well. That's a excellent point.
I don't know about Miami. Feels like Xavier
Miami
Worthy.
too.
I think Miami's got it. I'm actually not kidding because I don't know that they're going to be able to pay Waddle. They've got too much money committed elsewhere, so you might have to kind of start planning for 2 years.
They're in a bad cap situation. Pitt needs another corner bad.
Yeah, no, they really do.
They need another offensive lineman too.
I could see Quinion Mitchell going to Pitt.
Yeah,
you know where Fountainu goes is Philly.
Yeah,
they'll just say, you know what, we'll go ahead and put him behind Lane for a year, kind of see where we're at. Put him at guard if you need to. That makes a lot of sense for him.
Philly loves they need corner too, I imagine. Philly, they could.
Where's Brian Thomas going?
Exactly.
Hopefully the Jags at 23, I guess.
Hopefully the Kansas City Chiefs at 23 when they trade up with the Jags.
Yeah, Gabe Davis though, like signing him, like you have two like kind of perimeter deep threats, but it's like that shouldn't stop you. But it's at the same time, it's like you did just sign him. I don't know. That's tough.
Maybe the Cowboys want to trade down so they can pick a running back at 32.
Maybe. I think that Buffalo's going to take Ladd McConkey.
Oh, really? Oh, no, I think Buffalo's going to take one of the deep threat guys. I mean, I think
you think it's like Troy Franklin,
AD Mitchell or Brian Thomas is definitely one of those. They're one of them going to Buffalo for sure. I don't know. I think Josh Allen loves just uncorking that thing. That's why Gabe Davis was good in Buffalo, honestly, just because Josh Allen really did just trust him and would, be confident, uncorking it deep to him and just letting him be a big body down the field.
They could also be a spot for one of the corners. They got to rebuild.
I honestly forgot how rough their wide receiver room is now. Though I am.
That's what I
am a big Khalil Shakir fan, and I think he could be good if they give him.
They do need a guy. They need a guy who can stretch the field, but they do, but they also just don't have a guy who's because Ladd lines up on the perimeter more than he lines up in the slot.
Yeah.
And I think that let's not act like Stephon Diggs was the biggest guy in the world. I think that they just need, I'm not a big Ladd McConkey fan. I don't want him for the Chiefs, but I think that he fits. I think he fits what they need. I think he's a good fit for what they want to do.
Yeah, I took Ladd in our SB Nation mock draft. Rocky, I didn't tell you. I kind of hid that from you because I know you'd.
Why don't you like Ladd? What
he's just a guy he's a 185-pound wide receiver who can't stay healthy for a 12-game season, isn't going to be healthy in the NFL for a 20-game season, and he never went for 1,000 yards.
It might work for us.
No, but he is the guy though that like you could just see just coming right in and just being, an easy, like he could be offensive rookie of the year, honestly, and with the Chiefs, like if they really wanted to use him like that, just because he could just get open off of everyone else, Kelsey and Brown. I mean, he could really be nice right away.
So this time last year, we were feeling really good about the board for the Chiefs. It was like right around 20 where everything started going poorly. And every player that you wanted the Chiefs to be able to select at 32 went off the board. How are we feeling this time around? Because you got Fatanu there, you got Brian Thomas Jr., Xavier Worthy. The corners are all still on the board. Do you guys?
It's actually kind of crazy, isn't it?
Is it gonna work out this time?
That's what
I feel like. I feel like I'm entering into my third marriage. Like this is my third marriage. And I'm hopefully optimistic, but I'm also guarding myself against heartache.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, if they don't make the trade up because they feel like, everyone's falling, we'll just kind of pick from what we got. That's a risky business to play there. Because they could just go boom, 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 boom.
Last year, starting at 20,
Anton
Jackson Smith and Jigba, Quentin Johnston, Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison. And then Mozzie Smith, who they liked, Anton Harrison.
Yeah.
And then boom,
and that
it's
was
just
like
over by 27.
And they were really interested in Nolan Smith too.
Yep. And then he goes 30.
He got snatched right before them. Yeah. Like
Anton Harrison.
I think I think
let's do the math though.
If there's a reasonable way for them to jump up like 4 or 5 spots, I think they're 100% doing it. And let me welcome in Arrowhead Pride contributor Caleb James, who is joining us now.
So
it's NFL Draft Night 1.
So just to kind of do some math on this, though, just really quick. Hey, Caleb, it's good to see you, buddy. We have 11 picks until the Chiefs pick, right? How many guys are available in round 1 that you would be okay with Chiefs spending a first-round draft pick on? Is there 11 guys still on the board that you're like, because every single defensive back, so that's at least 4 guys right there, plus 3 or 4 wide receivers, plus a couple tackles. We're getting to the point where mathematically a guy has to be there.
I do think there's kind of a teardrop though. After I've got like 6 guys that I feel really good about that are still there. I've got Thomas, Worthy, Fatanu, Mitchell, Arnold, and DeJean as like my top guys that are still on the board for the Chiefs.
Well, one of those guys is no longer available.
Oh man.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
The run has started. Yeah, the Steelers did what we thought the Steelers might do.
Fatanu.
Yeah, they took Fatanu.
Yeah. All right. Well, that sucks.
That makes sense. But no, the receivers though, that's the thing. And like you just pointed out, BK, last year, this is where they went boom, boom, boom. So like, and
I'm now in
Miami
favor
is
of
definitely
moving up
that
for a
guy.
receiver.
I mean, could you see Philly just going? I mean, maybe not with, I guess, with how they're structured. They just paid those two dudes, but who knows? Philly could just go, like, hey, let's just screw it.
The problem is like
another dude.
Miami could take one. Jacksonville could definitely take one. Possible for Green Bay, I suppose. Buffalo definitely. Ravens for sure. And we'll see what happens with Ayuk. But, I mean, it's possible for the 49ers as well.
Caleb, where are you at? Where are you at with how this board has fallen tonight and where you want to see the Chiefs, where you want to see them go position-wise, move up, stay put? How are you feeling?
I think right now I think they're probably in a position right now where they're going to have to read these next two picks pretty well because they're probably running out of time to move up. If that was the plan of action, I know that, I think that this run on the first end of tackles is going to start going here. We may even get into some of these interior offensive linemen as we kind of move down the line here. I know Miami could be in the market for like a Graham Barton type. Philadelphia might take Johnny Newton to replace Fletcher Cox and keep building their immaculate defensive line. But I think like the end of the tier 1 of receivers and the beginning of the tier 2 receivers is going to fall right in that range to where I don't think they would have to move up if they really did want one of those guys.
Dude, I know you like Johnny Newton. Are you kind of hoping that he falls? Like, I don't know. I'm all about receiver right now, but I know you're a Johnny Newton guy. So
I'm like cautiously optimistic, but I see Philadelphia right here, and this is just that'd be such a Philly pick right now. And I guess Miami needs help also, losing Wilkinson. So I mean, I have a feeling he'll probably be off the board here pretty soon. And I don't know if he'd be, the guy the Chiefs are going to be willing to move up to get right now at this point.
What's the position the Chiefs could take in the first round, no matter where it's at, that everybody would be upset about? Like we've talked a ton about offensive tackles and wide receivers. What's the one way they could go where you'd be like, I am not happy with this whatsoever?
That would be hilarious if they just took Junior Colson or somehow.
Or Peyton Wilson or
yeah. Hey, Peyton Wilson,
linebacker. If they took
a guy like
Rattler,
Chop Robinson, I know Caleb would love that too, but
I'd be down with Chop Robinson.
Oh, you're out on Chop.
I'd be down with Chop.
Not necessarily. It's just 3 straight years first round picks on edge. When if it is kind of if maybe some of these guys are available in a quick trade up or something, but Chop does seem to be kind of that cannonball. I bet Spags would have fun with him for sure.
Or Darius Robinson.
Oh, I'd be more about Darius Robinson to me. I really like what he
I'd be out on Darius Robinson.
Ooh.
Nah.
You hit all my guys, man.
Yeah, no, I don't hate all of them. I don't. I don't like Darius Robinson.
If they end up, if the edges go, let's say Thomas and Worthy are off the board. How would you guys feel if they go corner in round 1? If it's Mitchell, Arnold, or DeJean?
I mean, it's the best defensive position to address, and I mean, it is. I'm so set on offense, but yeah, it's. I'd rather that than D line.
See, I
think you lost arguably your best player on defense last year, and you're replacing them with a top end prospect, and you're just reloading what you had last year, and I think I think it's smart.
That might be where the most value still is, especially if we see like a quick run on wide receivers here, like they had last year at the back end of the first round. And we talked about offensive tackle a ton tonight, where it's like any tackle that they take, I don't think any Chiefs fan is going to be upset about it. They're just going to be like, yeah, that's solid move. Protect Patrick Mahomes, whatever. Wide receivers, the sexy pick. If you take a cornerback, I don't think anybody's going to be upset, but everybody's going to be like, oh, it's kind of a letdown. Like, not super excited about it, but if the guy turns out to be a stud, then it's whatever.
At this point, I'd be a little upset if they take a tackle at 32. Because anybody they take is going to be developmental, and you can get a developmental guy on day 2.
100%.
So I don't want to take somebody at 32 that's going to be a developmental player on offense when you'll have alternatives either at receiver, edge, or corner that could come in and on day 1 be impact starters for you.
With the O-line,
I'll say this: if they do go defensive back, I mean, I know the size concerns, but Nate Wiggins played the 3rd most amount of man coverage in college football last year. and was an absolute shutdown cornerback in a Power 5 conference. I mean, so I'd be stoked if they got
Since
Nate
you've been
Wiggins
hating on
here.
everyone's prospects, Rocky, I'm gonna hate on yours because come on, dog.
Go ahead.
No, Nate Wiggins is not it in this defense, man.
I'm Mr. Anti-small guy. So go ahead.
But
I know that's why I'm surprised. Exactly. He's the least aggressive of the guys here, and all he has is speed, man. Even his coverage stuff, like it's hilarious. Like I don't know. I feel like even down the field, he's just super grabbing. He got away with it a lot in college. I am a big no on Nate Wiggins. Come on. Why are we so opposed on everything, Rocky? That's come on. I'd way rather have Kool-Aid McKinstry. And I actually was going to say
opposites attract.
That's
Ron,
true.
That's why.
That's true.
What,
but
I will say
though. Yeah, no, actually, Caleb, go ahead. Caleb needs to talk.
Sorry, I was on mute there for a second. My thing back to the O-line thing, though, is if you're going to take a developmental tackle, why not take a developmental tackle on day 2 or 3 who can also fill in as a developmental guard also? I don't see like Patrick Paul at 32 having a ton of upside for guard if he can't play tackle, where you're going to have some of these other guys around there. But with the whole defensive back and cornerback thing, it is kind of weird because the Chiefs have been in this pattern where we have seen them go up to get McDuffie, but they've also not really ever outside of that put a ton of value in the position to take it high. I think if they did go up, if they do take a cornerback here, I think that would probably show kind of what their plans are for the future of the defense. They want to build a team based more on coverage, and I think we saw a little bit of that with how things with Snead and McDuffie ended up this season. I would just be a little bit cautious with that, though, because sometimes the cornerbacks at the end of round 1 don't always pan out well. This is just kind of a weird class where they are going to end up being the better corners.
Yeah, they're pushing down. Because I was going to say, Terron Arnold, to me, like, I think he was the one that impressed me the most. I just didn't really put too much thought into him because, I figured he'd be, top 15 pick. I think he's
it feels like corner. McDuffie right now. That's why I think we're even discussing it, is because like when McDuffie fell, the Chiefs clearly were surprised as well. And so they were like, this is a blue chip talent. We've got to go make this happen now. And right now, what you're looking at with Mitchell and Arnold, like, I don't want to put too much emphasis on mock drafts, but everything leading up to tonight suggested top 15, no doubt about it. And at worst, definitely going in the top 20. So those guys still being there is on it. I'm shocked that both of them are on the board.
It's funny you say that, BK, about it being like McDuffie, because I remember when the McDuffie thing happened, like what I just said, it was the same thing where like I didn't really put too much thought into McDuffie that draft class. I just kind of figured, he's going to go top 12, top 15. Like they're not going to trade up that high for a corner. Boom, all of a sudden, and that's why you just gotta, cover all your bases. That's the draft is just a crazy thing. And it would be wild if they just stocked up, because I really do think Arnold would be Arnold and McDuffie together. They're going to be just super savvy corners, like in coverage. Just like Terron Arnold's going to be great in zone. He's sticky in man for sure, but I just feel like he's so instinctual, just kind of reading the quarterback's eyes, just kind of like knowing where to be, and he can come up and play at the line of scrimmage too. I didn't put too much thought into him, but I watched a little bit and I was like, this guy's going to be really good. It would be. He was my favorite corner in the class out of everybody for sure.
So we just hit 2,000 viewers for the first time tonight.
Woo!
Another tremendous milestone as we launch this brand new channel. So again, please, everybody, you guys have been so amazing tonight as we're trying to get this thing off the ground and kind of setting up this bare bones operation where I didn't really know until, just to peel back the curtain a little bit, I didn't really know until Monday if I was going to be able to get this thing off the ground before the NFL draft. It has been a very hectic and stressful week where I was literally doing things up until 5 minutes before the drafts just to try to make sure we could get this thing set up and running tonight. So we got kind of a bare bones set up right now, but I'm working on tons of things here at Foolish Club Media to try to bring you guys the best Kansas City Chiefs coverage and familiar coverage from all of these voices from Arrowhead Pride and shows that everybody knows and loves. So thank you for all the support. I totally appreciate it. We need to ask a little bit more of you. We need your help following us on Twitter at Club Foolish. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Foolish Club Media. And we've got over 2,000 people watching us right now. So I have to draw attention. to Caleb's turtleneck because it is tremendous. And the podcast audience isn't going to be able to see this, but you can go find it on our YouTube page later on if you want. Like, I got to ask Caleb, like, is this just a draft night outfit? Like, is this like you're ready to go to the podium in case you get the phone call, or did you have an event or something going on?
This is just a draft night outfit. I don't know. Wasn't really thinking about it too much. I remember I wore this coat last year when we were there, and I was like, it is a suit and tie kind of night. Obviously, I'm not wearing a tie right now, but I figured I'd sit around in the living room, hang out, just wear the nicest clothes I own. And I'm sure the Domino's guy probably thought I was pretty weird when he rolled up with the pizza earlier tonight, but I don't know. Just kind of, we all put in a lot of work for this stuff, man. I mean, Rocky got it on year round. Me and Ron have been getting ready for this for the better part of 6 months, everything, man. I mean, why not celebrate a little bit on, day one of the draft, day 2, day 3, put on your best clothes, put on your dancing shoes, man, because this is where the stuff starts.
No, I love it. You never need an excuse to dress nice, man. And you look fantastic tonight. You look like you're ready to roll. And you should also follow Caleb on Twitter because he does tremendous coverage at Arrowhead Pride. His film work from Caleb, Rocky, Ron, like they're still cranking out stuff at Arrowhead Pride. So please go follow them and make sure you're paying attention to everything that they're doing. Continue to subscribe to us. But we're still waiting for the Kansas City Chiefs. Not a ton of action from them. I feel like there was the report from, I think, James Palmer and then maybe Diana Rossini. I don't remember exactly, but there's a lot of smoke around the Chiefs. Like they're moving up, like they're doing everything they can to go up and get their guy. And, obviously I think there is something to the idea that the Kansas City Chiefs, like there are teams that just like, no, we don't really want to help you out. We don't want to do stuff with you, but it's been very quiet around them tonight to the point where now I'm kind of just like, it kind of feels like they're just going to sit at 32 and take the best player available.
I wonder if that's because of all the quarterbacks going early. And they were like, you know what? Let's chill. The number of 6 quarterbacks going in the top 12 means that a good player is going to get pushed down to us. Maybe they expected 4. And when 6 went, they were like, all right, this is our time to chill back for a little bit, kind of see how this board plays out. And if they're going to move up, we're now getting into the range where you could do so with a 3rd instead of using your 2nd to move up. And with Brian Thomas still on the board, the corners we've been talking about still on the board, it looks like Chop Robinson just went, but there's still some good defensive linemen on the board. I don't love the tackles, but maybe they are higher on one of them than I am. There's just a lot of dudes that are worthy of the number 32 overall pick right now.
And that's honestly why I would argue that them trading, they could trade back right here, guys. We may not get a pick tonight.
Well, they could trade back, and I think that I'd argue that Chop Robinson going just improves the outlook for the Chiefs right now at this point. And the fact that with Philadelphia on the clock, they're probably going to go cornerback here. Like they got like you almost think they have to because they need a lot of secondary help. They could go Newton here because it would be a Philadelphia thing to do, but I feel like this is a cornerback pick right here.
It's about 13 or 14 deep of guys like that. They could pick realistically at 32. Like it really is like they may just feel like the value's there where they feel like they could still pick from a good bubble of guys and trade back. I hope not. I hope they're aggressive and would get their guy. That's what I want Beach to do. Identify your guy. Go get him. And I hope he's just still on the board and he's just waiting for the perfect time. I don't want him to settle. There's no point. We've had good draft classes, right? They've stocked the roster. Be aggressive, even if it takes draft capital. Go get your guy. As long as he's confident in it, that's good with me. But again, he's a pretty savvy GM too, so he could just be kind of playing it and he could trade back and that would kind of annoy me. But whatever.
You guys have done probably more work on these guys than I have, but when you look at Worthy versus Thomas, do you have them in the same tier, or do you guys view one as being significantly better than the other?
Thomas is significantly better. I think he's a tier above Worthy, hands down.
Yeah, I think they can do a lot of the. I think they can do a lot of the same things, but Thomas is just he's almost like a DK Metcalf size, and honestly, I think he can move a little better in and out of his routes and stuff than DK. I think I think Brian Thomas is really, really good. He should have got picked already, but I do think Xavier 100%. Worthy with the Chiefs, I keep saying it. He's just a souped up McCole Hardman. Like he's a legit receiver but what McCole Hardman was. Like, I think he can do a lot of the things McCole Hardman was doing on top of actually being like a true, like, you can put him as a receiver and he can run legit routes. McCole could never do that. He could just never develop into that. Xavier Worthy doesn't get credit for that. As a freshman, he was being a good receiver at Texas, leading them, in big plays and stuff. So yeah, I think Xavier Worthy is a good receiver, but Brian Thomas Jr., I just think he can do a lot of the same stuff, but you're talking about, a bigger target, bigger catch radius. But he still has that same game breaking speed. And he did not get utilized enough at LSU in terms of like underneath stuff. I think he can, win on slants, win, over the middle. He was just really a deep bomb down the field because Jaden Daniels was really, chucking it deep a lot. And BTJ was, obviously had Malik Neighbors too. So it was just a wide open offense.
And Brian Thomas Jr. had an early injury in his college career that kind of set him back a little bit. But coming out of high school, he was actually he was higher up the list of recruits in his high school class. He was higher than Marvin Harrison Jr. rated coming out of high school, just because of that natural athleticism that he possesses. And I said this earlier in the feed, but I think it bears mentioning again. The difference that I noticed with Brian Thomas versus some of the other wide receivers is that even if the play's not going to him, if it's a screen pass on the opposite side of the field, or if he's just running a clear out pattern, he runs the route as hard as if the ball was coming to him every single time. The guy just doesn't take snaps off. And with that athleticism and that sort of like effort, I think it's hard to miss on a guy like that.
It's as we're sitting here and like my patience is wearing thin for the Chiefs to make a move and just do something. And I want to freak out if it's Brian Thomas or a wide receiver that really excites me like that. I'm also talking myself more into Cooper DeJean because I'm like, it kind of feels like that guy's like a blue chip player that is kind of being treated like he's not a blue chip player. And the way that Spags can get the most out of his defensive backs and the way he utilizes like versatility in that secondary, it feels like he could totally step in and just be a playmaker for the Chiefs right away if he's available and they can take him. I feel like I'm talking myself into being totally fine with it.
By the way, corner just went off the board. Quinyon Mitchell going to Philadelphia. So they get a hell of a player here. I wonder if we see a little bit of a corner run, because you could see like Cooper DeJean has been a guy that's been mocked to the Packers. They're coming up here in a few picks. Jaguars could absolutely take Arnold coming up with the next selection. Like we could see all three of those corners we were just mentioning going off the board in the next 4 picks.
Yeah, Jacksonville's secondary is bad. They need help.
Is there more like just kind of stereotypical place for a white cornerback to go than Green Bay?
It's
like,
perfect.
like
it's a total
it just
Green
makes
Bay
sense.
move.
Like it's either Minnesota Vikings or the Green Bay Packers.
What's going to be really frustrating is the top 3 corners go off in the next 4 picks. You get a tackle go into Dallas potentially, and then the receivers go Buffalo and then Baltimore probably. That's going to be tough.
It's Lad McConkey time, Rocky.
Hey.
Like on a scale of 1 to 10, how upset are you going to be if they take Lad McConkey, Rocky?
Here's what I told Kramer this. Kramer's a huge Lad McConkey guy on Beach Season. I said, listen, I personally have a late 2nd, early 3rd round grade on Lad McConkey. I think that he's going to be a very productive wide receiver in the NFL. I don't want the Chiefs to draft him because of the reasons already stated. If the Chiefs draft Lad McConkey, I'm going to immediately become the world's largest Lad McConkey fan because he's a Kansas City Chief. I didn't like Nick Bolton as a college football player because I'm a diehard Jayhawks fan, right? The second Nick Bolton was drafted by the Chiefs, he was no longer a Tiger. He was a Kansas City Chief. The second somebody becomes a Kansas City Chief, I'm a huge fan with them until they start dropping passes like Kadarius Toney. And then maybe I'm not such a big fan anymore.
A Dallas Cowboys reporter just said, don't rule out the Cowboys trading down as they get closer to being on the clock at 24.
Ooh.
I mean, that is exact, like by the math, it's almost exactly the Chiefs' 1st and 3rd.
And that's probably like the threshold for Veach, honestly. Like as soon as he passes that threshold, it's like, all right, we can, I mean, it's worth kidding. You can take a swing and it's not going to kill you. You know, if you're not losing your 2nd round pick, like, you know, you can take a pretty hard swing at one of these guys. So that's a good
Ron, do you know what this feels like? Remember when the Chiefs drafted Sky Moore and they were like, oh, the Chiefs are going to draft a wide receiver. And I was like, it's going to be George Pickens because I was so about George Pickens in that draft. And then they selected Sky Moore. Like if the Chiefs trade up to take Lad McConkey here, I'm like, that would be the thing that would just totally just ruin my night. If Brian Thomas Jr. is on the board and they take Ladd McConkey, that's when I get pissed.
No, they wouldn't do that. They would not.
I like Sky. Like I liked Sky more, and then like there was tons of draft people that were like, "This is a home run pick for the Kansas City Chiefs," and I was like, "Yes, let's go." But I really wanted George Pickens. Like that was the wide receiver in that draft that I was like, George Pickens, let's go get him.
I think the George Pickens thing, by the way, is why they're not taking AD Mitchell. Like all of the same reasons why they decided not to take George Pickens, all character stuff. That's AD Mitchell to a T.
Well, especially since the Rashee Rice situation just happened as well. They're not going to take a character concern at wide receiver, which is why I do think a guy like Xavier Legette is very appealing to them, because he's a dude that, like, whether or not he should have done this, I'm not going to argue that. But when his parents passed away in high school, he never missed a single practice in football. He's a guy where his own offensive coordinator this year said that he wants his son to model his work ethic and his work ethic in practice and in life after Xavier Legette, right? Like when your coach says that he wants his son to grow up to be like you, that's the opposite of a George Pickens. So I think since he does have some of the same profiles as Rashee Rice has, and they consider the Rashee Rice situation, and the fact that it just recently came out that Xavier Legette went on a top 30 visit to Kansas City, but it wasn't widely published, it was kind of under the radar. It seems like that might be a Chiefs move.
They said Buffalo met with him also the other day. How funny would it be to jump Buffalo again to get somebody who they've been keyed in on for a while?
If they jump to get a receiver, it feels like that's what they're trying to do, is get in front of them, because Buffalo's definitely taking a receiver. So
we can get another clip in a few days of Buffalo's front office just being devastated when the Chiefs jump up in front of them.
And the Cardinals are definitely a team that could trade down. Like their GM is not afraid to move up and down the board, and that's who's in front of them right now. And it's extra draft capital for them compared to what they already had, and they've already got a receiver. So,
and we're in the range where the L'Jarius Sneed pick could be enough to move up. At this point, might not even be giving up a pick this year.
That's true. Honestly, yeah, guys, I actually might hop off and prepare to write up this draft pick, because I don't know. I do feel like something might be coming at that Dallas.
Hold on, you got to get this. You got to get this pick. You got to see who the Jags are taking.
Oh no,
no,
it ain't good.
Oh no, please
no. They're going receiver.
Brian Thomas?
Yeah, Thomas is going 23.
Yeah, see, now I
feel like he lasted longer than anybody expected him to, and they need another wide receiver. So
everybody had mocked him to the Jaguars whenever they were up higher. So,
man, they're going to have two big, speedy, like Trevor Lawrence is just going to be bombing it deep, I guess, because they got guys that can, they got speed and size. But dang it, I definitely would have been. I don't know if I'm willing to trade up for anyone else, I guess, on the receiver position now. So I guess you're sitting tight if it's receiver at this point.
That is interesting for Jacksonville, because wide receiver is a need, but like they still got a lot of holes on their roster. Like an offensive line still a huge question mark. Their defense is still a huge question mark. They're still lacking in pass rush. Like they still need secondary help. Like Jacksonville is still farther away, I think, than they probably believe they are with Trevor Lawrence right now.
Ron, right now, who would be your ideal 32 pick?
Ideal 32 pick? Oh, man. I think it is Ladd McConkey at this point, to me, because I'm not the biggest Tyler Guyton guy. The more I think about it, I think I would rather just, like we were talking about, because if you sit at 32, you have the ability on day two, on round two, to use the draft capital you didn't use today to move up, to use that to move up for a guy on day two, like we've been talking about the developmental tackles. So I think I would want to take a receiver. Well, AD Mitchell's there, I guess. Sorry, I love AD Mitchell. Sorry, I keep forgetting he's there. AD Mitchell's my guy. I know the character concerns. I think that that kind of came up late. I don't know. I'm not worried about that too much. But Ladd McConkey, if AD Mitchell goes, is the second one for sure. Just
you like Ladd over Worthy?
Yeah, I do.
Size.
Yeah. I don't know. I do like Worthy. I don't know. I just, again, like he reminds me of McCole a little bit, where like he just may be a little linear of a player, right? Where, you're not getting like Ladd McConkey can, is really smooth in and out, and it can really be a zone beater. Where Xavier Worthy, he may just be more of a man beater, kind of a big play guy. Again, I still think he can run routes pretty well compared to McCole back in, McCole, it could never get going. But Ladd can kind of, beat you both ways a little bit, in my opinion.
To me, I think Xavier Worthy just seems a lot like Jalen Hyatt. Like they seem like really similar players.
That's
when I watch them.
Sure.
I totally disagree.
You think so?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Xavier Worthy can be used more underneath, for sure.
Yeah, I think you can do so much more with him. Whereas like Hyatt was purely in the split stuff that they do at Tennessee. He was never on the line of scrimmage. Like I just think Worthy is a much better player overall.
I think, and
I would agree.
I will say.
I'm not diving.
I will say this: I watched the Texas Pro Day,
but
go ahead.
I'm just saying, like everything that I've read about Worthy is that underrated route runner. Like wasn't necessarily always in the best situations to produce at a high level, and the way that he could win downfield and things like that. Like what I look for in wide receivers is can they just get open, and can they get open off the line of scrimmage? Because if you're, especially when you're a speedy, small wide receiver, if you just get pressed at the line of scrimmage, you're going to have a hard time getting open a majority of the time. And so if you can win at the line of scrimmage and get open and then also take the top off the defense, that's great. But I always put way more weight into route running and the ability to get open in the short areas than the guys who can beat you in a track meet. But if you get pressed at the line of scrimmage, you're going to be taken out of the play at the snap.
He's only about 100. He probably walks around at 175. Still not the biggest guy in the world, though. That's got to be a little bit of a concern, just thinking about player longevity. A guy without a ton of muscle mass, even though he is explosive and athletic, he's going to have to be a guy that's hunting the sideline at the end of every play, or he's going to be taking some shots out there.
And here's the thing, too.
Go ahead, Rocky.
I was going to say, one thing I will give Xavier Worthy that I think that he does get knocked on him a lot is that when you see off the field, I watched Texas's pro day, you saw him and Adonai Mitchell side by side. Adonai Mitchell is not a big dude either. He's taller, but he's not a big dude. Adonai Mitchell is just about as skinny as Xavier Worthy is. He's just taller than he is by a couple inches, but they have the same type of body, right? So nobody's questioning Adonai Mitchell's physical makeup, but they're not that much different.
Well, I do think Adonai Mitchell is a special route runner. I really do think so. I think the way he can, get in and out of his stuff, he can set up his routes, and he is a strong receiver. He is a strong player. You can trust him to catch between defenders. I do think when I say strong receiver, I do think one little thing that, I tell myself I should value about receivers. So I don't know why, maybe I love AD Mitchell so much, but he is not going to block very well at all. He is a terrible blocker. AD Mitchell, and the Chiefs probably do value that to an extent. And AD Mitchell, he whiffs, even if he looks like he's trying, it's pretty bad. It looks like so. I don't know. I just think AD Mitchell's a special route runner, and he can get open in any situation. And he's a strong catcher. He only had one drop last year. Over the last 2 years, actually, he had a shortened season in Georgia in 2022. But I think AD Mitchell is a guy that's just he's going to be a guy in the NFL, in my opinion. I know. And hey, you want a little diva, right? You want a little diva in your receiver. We don't get diva enough. I mean, Rice isn't much of a diva as he is just maybe a immature. We need a little diva, come on. That's all it is.
It does at this point. It just kind of feels like whoever the Chiefs draft, it's going to be some maturity issues. I don't know what it is about the Kansas City Chiefs, but it seems like there's every offseason there's something to deal with. But, it's at this point in the draft, I am curious, how they rate the guys that are still available. Because Brian Thomas is obviously a guy that we talked a ton about. And I feel like so much of the buzz around Brian Thomas was he's going to go a lot earlier than people thought. And then he lasts until, late first round, which I think we all probably expected Brian Thomas to be off the board before that. And then So then it just comes down to where they value that. And if you believe the reports, is it's offensive tackle or wide receiver is the backup plan. Depending on the wide receivers that are available, are we totally confident that it is, or is Cooper DeJean being there? Are the Chiefs going to be screw it, let's take another corner
run it back and try to see if he just fits in perfectly, stepping in for L'Jarius Sneed, and then you get more out of, Chamari Connor, and Trent McDuffie takes another step and continues his ascension as a superstar player. And then you hope that Brian Cook and Justin Reed can continue to like step up in the secondary and make plays. And like, I'm still really excited for the Chiefs secondary next season. And I assume that they're going to take a defensive back at some point in this draft. I don't know if it's going to be at 32, but at this point, I'm kind of just like, I'm ready for them to make a move. And I feel like I'm going to be excited for virtually anybody. But I think last year when me, Caleb, and Ron were at the draft, like by 32, like there was this small window where it was like, there's a lot of guys that would be really interesting for the Chiefs. And then they all got picked right before the Chiefs. And then it was Felix Anudike-Uzomah, who I'm not ready to close the book on him. Like I don't think they needed him to be a significant piece as a rookie, and we'll see what he winds up being. But it would be nice to just see them get somebody that can step in and like contribute in their rookie season, as opposed to drafting another player that's a developmental kind of guy.
Well, the Lions just traded up.
The line, yeah.
That's got to be a corner.
That's the biggest weakness on their
Super
roster.
DeJean in Detroit. That makes a little more sense too. Dan Campbell.
Corner's the biggest weakness on the roster.
Terry and Arnold makes sense there too.
It's Arnold. It's Arnold. Arnold's going here.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, hey, that's a great pick in my opinion.
So Arnold goes here.
Either one
goes to Green Bay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, BK. Yeah, DeJean.
Exactly. It's perfect.
There you go. So then the corners are off the board, so we don't have to talk about them. It's not official for anybody listening, but I mean, DeJean makes all the sense in the world, or Barton for Green Bay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
See, this is where it gets frustrating. This is the exact same thing we went through last year.
It
was once we got into the 20s, it was like, man, this is falling perfectly for the Chiefs, and then a run on everybody we were looking at. And
okay, so but say somebody, for instance, like Kool-Aid McKinstry is there at 32, which he's a guy who's kind of fallen down draft boards, was originally considered a top 10 draft pick in this class. If the Chiefs take a Kool-Aid McKinstry at the end of this draft or somebody like that, is there another position where they've earned more goodwill and like faith that they made the right choice than cornerback or defensive backs in general? Like this regime has shown that they can identify cornerback talent and draft it.
And the other thing, Rocky, to that point, like think about this in combinations as well. Like don't think about it just of what you're getting at 32. Think about what's going to be available for you in the second round. And when you look at what's still there on the board right now, and this is in no order at wide receiver: Leggett, A.D. Mitchell, McConkey, Worthy, Pearsall, Keon Coleman, Jalen Polk, McMillan, Franklin, Roman Wilson, Baker, all of that, Malik Washington. If they took one of those guys on day 2, they're starting for the Chiefs next year.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, at corner, like you're not getting that. At edge, if you take one of the guys on day 2, you're probably not getting a day 1 starter. Defensive tackle, if you take one on day 2, you're not getting a day 1 starter most likely. So that's why, like, if you were to go away from receiver at 32, that's probably the explanation, because they just see so many different options there that could be had at, in the 50s or 60s.
No, exactly. And that's the thing. So if they stay at 32 again, like they just have the ammunition to move. So that's all. They got it. They're ready. I am probably going to drop off though, fellas, because I feel like I'm going to get unprepared if I don't get ready for it. So appreciate y'all.
Your business, Ron. Appreciate you dropping
in.
I'm going to do the same, boys. I got to get out of here. By the way, the trade was 24 and a 7th rounder for 29 and 73. So they had to give up 73 to move up to number 24. So it was a pretty costly move up for them.
Yeah.
All right, BK. Appreciate
you.
Take
it easy,
boys.
BK.
Again, next week we're planning on rolling out our lineup of weekly shows. We're going to try to build on this thing all through the summer and hope that as we get close to training camp, we'll be in a better position starting from the ground up again, in a way that we weren't all planning on, but in a way that I think everybody that's on the team and everybody that's trying to help me get this thing off the ground is really excited about. And so starting, we're going to be covering the draft in some capacity all weekend long. I don't know if we're going to be live streaming the entirety of the NFL draft like we have in years past and like we are tonight. I don't know if we're going to do that Friday and Saturday, but I'm figuring all of that stuff out. Like I mentioned, we're still getting a lot of things in place, but we're really proud that we were able to do this for you guys tonight and able to be here and enjoy the first round of the NFL draft with everybody. So please follow us on Twitter at Club Foolish, on YouTube at Foolish Club Media. We're going to have a bunch of content there here in the near future. Starting on Monday, we'll try to get off to our weekly lineup and continue to cover the Chiefs all summer long and have content going for you guys. That way, once we hit training camp this year, we are ready to roll and we are locked and loaded for the Chiefs to try to go on a three-peat as Super Bowl champions. So Lions straight up, take a cornerback, another player off the board the Chiefs could potentially be interested in, but we are at the back half of the first round of the NFL draft now. And so guys, we talked a ton about all of these picks and the positions and that we love, that we hate, everything that we want the Chiefs to do right now. Like, how deflating would it be if they traded out of the first round at the very end of it? Because we talked about this last year at the NFL draft here in Kansas City, Caleb. So that was my third NFL draft in person that I have had the opportunity to cover, which very cool. I've had fun at every single one of those, but I was at the draft in Chicago when the Chiefs drafted Chris Jones and Tyreek Hill. They traded out of that first round, so did not have a first round pick in that draft. And then I was at the draft in Nashville when they traded out of the first round, later took McCole Hardman, and that was with the whole Tyreek Hill situation. Didn't have first round pick of that one. Last year, 32, take Felix and DK Uzama. That was the first time I've actually been in an NFL draft where they made a first round selection. Chiefs again, Super Bowl champions, find themselves at the back half of the first round. I could, at this point, especially with all the quarterbacks that went so early and the way that things fell, like if they wind up not landing one of those guys who's like, this is the absolute like best player we could have hoped to land at 32, I would not be shocked at all if they trade back out of the first round and just try to accumulate some value at this point.
It depends. And I know last year we like hypothesized that even if it did make sense to trade back, they weren't going to. They'd probably just take the safest pick possible, who did happen to be FAU at the time. I think this next run of picks, we're getting into the contenders now. You see, obviously the Lions are going to go, they want to win the Super Bowl next season. They're going all in. But this next line is like all the playoff teams, right? Outside of the Cardinals have a pick in here also. But I mean, you got the Chiefs, San Francisco, Baltimore, Dallas, Tampa Bay, Green Bay is on the clock. These are all going to be teams in it at the end of next season. So it is possible that the way they view their board, they are going to trade back. But if there's a guy still here who they think can come in and be an immediate impact maker, I think that, you have to maybe take the risk of taking him unless they're just, there's some red flag that puts, a group of guys so far off your board you don't even want to take him here. Because I still think there's some good talent out there, right? Like Leggett is still on the board. I kind of think he's going to be a first round pick. I think he's going to go here pretty soon. You got Johnny Newton still on the board. I think it's pretty crazy he hasn't gone. Darius Robinson. And these are like teams these guys have met with. You can see scheme fits for some of these teams. Cooper DeJean is the other guy. And then, A.D. Mitchell also. I think if the teams coming up have enough belief, and specifically if the Chiefs have one of these guys start to kind of fall into their laps and they have enough belief, they can be a big-time contributor on day one and, come in and be a starter right away. And I think they're going to stand pat, kind of like how they did with Karlaftis at 31 a couple of years ago. Because I remember thinking, I was like, oh, they'll probably trade out of this pick here. They moved up, got McDuffie, maybe replenished some picks, but clearly they believed in what, GK could become, and, they're going to ride. They rode with it, and it paid off for them. 2 seasons in, he's a double-digit sack guy, and he's got 2 Super Bowl rings.
So I want to talk to you guys about Xavier Leggett again, because me and Rocky talked about him earlier, but that was 3 hours ago at this point. So I know Rocky, if that's a pick at 32, I know Rocky is going to be absolutely juiced. He's a player that I know it's been covered at Arrowhead Pride, has a very unique path to where he is at this point in his career. And is a player that is kind of viewed as like, project, but like all of the tools are there to be a star player. Like if he can find himself in the right situation. And that feels exactly like what the Kansas City Chiefs would do. Like Brian Thomas, might have been the sexier pick for some Chiefs fans. Maybe Chiefs fans, it is Xavier Worthy because they just want the flashy speed. But I want a guy that I want the Chiefs to get bigger and stronger at wide receiver. Like I want more guys for Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, because I know Andy loves the speed and he loves the small guys and whatever. But I want more guys that look like Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. Like I would be thrilled with Xavier Legette at the back end of the first.
Legette ran in the 4.3s at the combine.
Yeah, like even if he is this big project, like Rashee Rice was viewed as a project, and we saw him take 10 weeks of an NFL regular season as a rookie to really carve out a role in the offense. And part of that was because he was really limited as a player as a rookie. And the Chiefs are finally like, okay, we're just going to lean in the stuff that you do really good. And the stuff that you do good is all we're going to use you for. And they did it to a lot of success. And there's a lot of coaching staffs around the NFL that aren't good enough at their jobs to say, like, we have to utilize you at these things because that is what you are good at right now. And we'll work on the other parts of your game later. But the Chiefs are a talented enough coaching staff that they can do that, and they can utilize that. I think like Sean McVay is another coach that's like really good at stuff like that. Like there's only so many coaching staffs that tend to lean into those things. And so I would be thrilled if that's who they take, even if you really wanted Brian Thomas or AD Mitchell or Xavier Worthy. Like I would be thrilled with Legette at 32 at this point.
100%. And just a little bit of housekeeping. The Packers took Jordan Morgan, a guy who was probably not on the Chiefs draft.
Okay, well now I'll be thrilled if it's Cooper DeJean. That's all I got. I got those are the two players I'll be thrilled if they get at 32.
Listen, my list right now, I'd be happy with Cooper DeJean, be happy with obviously Xavier Legette. I'd be happy with Quinn McKinstry. I think he's still a first round talent. I'd be happy with Johnny Newton. I think that we do have to start considering best player available as a possibility at 32. So Caleb, who do you think, if the Chiefs go best player available and maybe not even need, is the best player available? Is it a need, or who do you have as the best player available right now?
I mean, it's interesting. I'm just trying to look through all these teams. I think Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay could go a couple of directions. I'm really not sure what Arizona is going to do. Arizona could definitely go best available. Buffalo's going to have to take some sort of receiver, I'd be guessing, or some sort of defensive lineman possibly in there. Also, Dallas might be developmental tackle time. I could see Baltimore and San Francisco going a similar route. So I do think right now it's probably getting into best available time. I still think, though, there are options on the board at the positions like receiver and offensive tackle. I know a lot of us wouldn't be like excited about it, but Tyler Guyton is a guy. He's got a lot of the intangibles the Chiefs like. They haven't been linked to him or anything pre-draft process, but he does have that familiar background with being an OU offensive lineman that could make them possibly comfortable in going to get him. He's only really played tackle for 3 years. It would just be one of those weird things where he's sitting behind Wanya Morris for the second time in his career, probably to start the season. Yeah. I mean, scheme fit wise, though, I feel like Darius Robinson could be off the board here in the next few picks. I think he'd be a great fit for Tampa Bay. I think he'd probably be a good fit for Baltimore as well. And
so Tampa made their selection.
No,
my guy who probably wasn't on the Chiefs board.
I'm just rolling off of like the ESPN and then my TV. And
yeah. So I'm
Rocky's on the bootleg Twitter feed here, getting these picks earlier than everybody else.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, and so it is Graham Barton is off the board, which helps the Chiefs, because I don't think he was the guy that they were considering to take.
This is falling really well. This is falling pretty.
It really is. Like now, like the past couple of years, like I feel like it hasn't fallen in their favor, and like the way that it is falling right now, like I feel like there's enough quality players that we've discussed tonight that all of us like, that like they're bound to get one of those guys at this point. Which last year we had that small window and then they all went like in a row and it was done and they take FAU. This is interesting because at this point there's no offensive tackle left, right? That either of you are comfortable with them taking at this point.
Tyler Guyton, I wouldn't hate. He's a developmental prospect, but if you're going to take a developmental prospect, he's the best one out there. He has the highest upside. Like if you want to say who has the highest upside in this draft at offensive tackle, it's probably Amarius Mims, but Tyler Guyton has an argument for the most upside. He's just not a ready-made starter right now. I think that, but we're at a point right now where it's 5 players. If you can name 5 players that you think that you want the Chiefs to take in the first round, they're getting one of those 5 players. And this is the point where a lot of the teams that are coming up here have offensive need, have needs on the offensive line, but we're seeing a run on interior offensive linemen, right? And so you have guys like Jackson Powers Johnson is in play in the next couple of picks to be taken from Oregon. That's a guy who the Chiefs probably weren't going to consider, who would then whittle it down to 4 players, right? And so we're getting to the point where mathematically we're talking at cornerback, there's 2 guys like I thought to be okay with, Cooper DeJean and Kool-Aid McKinstry. At wide receiver, there's probably 2 guys, A.D. Mitchell or Xavier Legette. And then at tackle, there's Tyler Guyton. The Chiefs are going to have a shot at one of those 5 guys, guaranteed.
I know they don't need him, but Johnny Newton, I don't know. I've been getting getting some hate from people because I keep saying, man, if Johnny Newton's back there, you're just thinking best available. I know they've got the entire defensive line back, but gosh, man, he looks so good at Illinois so often. He just has like the crazy pass rush moves you don't see out of the college guy every day.
Before he broke his foot, he was a top 10 player in this draft.
Kind of like George Karlaftis was last year.
Yeah.
It's like, his hype hasn't been, he didn't work out at the combine. He had that foot procedure. But my thing is, like, if he's falling, maybe you just say, like, well, we could maybe get a guy that could one day eventually, be the next guy we line up next to Chris Jones along the interior after, maybe he kind of comes in, learns the system a little bit, and then you have another athletic interior pass rusher in there.
Well, yeah, and on third downs, like, good luck if you have Chris Jones, Johnny Newton, George Karlaftis all coming at the quarterback, and Charles Omenihu when he gets back and he's healthy. I mean, like I think that Johnny Newton would be a slam dunk. I mean, he slid down the draft board because his production fell off, but he broke his foot. Like, when he's healthy, he's a top 10 draft pick. Yeah, he played through the pain. Yeah, right. So I think that I'm 100% on board with Johnny Newton with you.
That's a stamp of approval kind of guy right there.
Yeah,
it's. I do want to mention this because it's a callback to a conversation we were having at the top of the draft when the Chargers took Joe Alt, number 5 overall. Rod Kopp tagged us in this and said it was a quote from Jim Harbaugh at their press conference after their first round. I know the question's going to come up about weapons. We look at offensive linemen as weapons because this is something we talked about earlier, Caleb, with like I'm not hating on the Chargers number 5 overall selection, but their wide receiver room, their running back room, their tight ends, like they have nobody depth-wise and talent-wise that you feel confident going into next season. Like, okay, well that's a nice piece. Like that worked for them on offense. But I mean, I guess they did try to shore up their offensive line for Justin Herbert, and we kind of talked about how Jim Harbaugh and I'm a little bit worried. Like, I think Jim Harbaugh is a good coach, but I kind of feel like everyone's super confident that he's just going to come back in and turn the Chargers around like he did with the 49ers back in the day, and like he did with Michigan or whatever. But he wants to run the football a lot and he wants to play defense, and that's like what they do. But their offense looks on paper like it has some of the worst skill position players in the NFL, but they got their tackle at number 5 overall.
Well, here's my thing. If they wanted to build this offensive, number one, I guess Joe Alt was a right tackle all along, which I could see that just from some of the issues I thought he had with his quickness and being such a bigger guy. My thing for them is if you wanted to build this great run blocking offensive line, why didn't you take Talise Fuaga there instead of Alt, because Fuaga was the better run blocker of the two by far. Alt's just got the size and ability. I was surprised by it. I mean, you got Slater, you've got some more, you've got some decent players. They've gotten a lot better on their offensive line, but it feels like they're not building up the offensive line to protect Justin Herbert. It feels like they're building it up to go north, to go north and south with the football. I was surprised with that. I mean, they've lost some receivers. I know they got Quentin Johnson trying to still become something, but it's like you pass up a chance to get a certified star when, your team's issue next year isn't really going to be, can you run the ball? I mean, Herbert's mobile enough. He can get out of that stuff also. That was a little bit baffling, to be honest.
The most productive wide receiver they've got on the team right now for Justin Herbert is Joshua Palmer. Like the dude who has done the most producing in the NFL for the Chargers right now is Joshua Palmer. That's absolutely insane. And so who did the Bucs just take? Graham Barton, center out of Duke. It looks like the Arizona Cardinals.
And then the Cardinals took Darius Robinson from Mizzou.
Okay.
So
this is all good for the Chiefs right now.
Helps the Chiefs.
The way they can think about this though is, do we want to get one of these receivers and then it turns out they don't do anything? There's just all these different scenarios that I think they're having to play through. It's like, do we have enough faith in one single receiver that he's going to come in here and be an immediate contributor? Do we have enough faith that, at some point in his career, a guy like Johnny Newton could become an all-pro caliber defensive lineman? Do we have enough faith that Tyler Guyton can be a starter at either tackle side by year 2 of his career? These are the decisions I think they're in the draft board trying to weigh right now. Honestly, if Graham Barton had fallen any further, I'd say maybe the Chiefs would have possibly considered him just, because he can play a lot of different positions. You could have him be your swing guy year 1, year 2, gives you a lot of flexibility with Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey in there. But clearly that didn't happen. He's already gone. And Robinson, man, I had a Charles Omenihu comp on him. I wrote him up for the website. I really enjoyed his game. I just love the combination of length and size he had, and he plays the game very aggressively too. So I think that's probably a pretty good pickup for Arizona there.
It's
just a little bit of note. The Bills have traded back.
With who?
I haven't seen yet. They just said Bills are trading back. It's the first thing I've seen.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll get the details on that and figure out what's happening. I have to imagine it's not with the Kansas City Chiefs. But you mentioned center there, and I think that's a really good thing to bring up that we talked about. I know BK brought it up earlier. Just this offensive line, because I do feel like there's a lot of discussion about like the Chiefs' interior of the offensive line is so good, and I was ranting about it earlier, but the Chiefs have been really, really good at planning for the future. And so this isn't just we have to address needs right now. They're really good at planning a couple years ahead down the line. Like, these are guys that we don't think we're going to be able to afford and bring in. Like, they knew they were going to have they were probably going to have to let Willie Gay go, even though Willie Gay had a really nice season last year. But Drew Tranquil was the more cost-effective player, and that's why they brought him back after his 1-year contract last year. And Nick Bolton's a guy that's probably going to get paid by the Chiefs because they really like him and what he does for the defense. They're going to have to make some decisions because what's really impressive about the way that they have drafted over the last several years is how many contributors they have drafted. But that also becomes a problem down the line because you can't just keep paying everybody, and that's why they make the decision to move on from L'Jarius Sneed. But I don't think the Chiefs have gotten enough credit for the way that they do plan like a year or two ahead of time. So I wouldn't be shocked if it is something like that. Like, at this point, I think with the talent left, like at the wide receiver position, I'd be pretty shocked if it's not a wide receiver. But like, I do think that's something we have to factor into this stuff, is that doesn't always come into the minds of most fans because they're not thinking multiple years down the line, whereas Brett Veach and his team definitely do things like that. Did we find out the trade details, Rocky?
Not yet. We're still I'm still refreshing the timeline, waiting for them to come through. It is.
I'm
they-
on the ABC live feed, and it says the Bills are still on the clock with 2.5 minutes left. I have not seen a word about a Bills trade back.
I've seen it from like reliable sources that they have traded back.
I'm not saying they have it. I just feel like we need to know what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm seeing some stuff on Twitter right now, man.
I haven't been on Twitter like all night, so I don't even really know what's going on there.
Per Jordan Schultz, the Chiefs are trading up to 28 with Buffalo.
Woo!
Oh man!
Whoa!
Boys, I'm gonna.
Why?
I don't.
Who are they getting? Who are they going to get?
Well, who would Dallas be in the mark? Who would
Jordan
Dallas?
Schultz. Jordan Schultz just said it. Yeah.
I can't believe the Bills would make a trade with the Chiefs.
We are on the clock.
I can't believe the Bills would make a trade with the Chiefs. Let's go. Let's go.
We're on the clock. Let's see who we're going to take.
Not only did they trade up, we don't got to wait till 32. Let's go. Let's go.
Do you want to wait and see?
I guarantee you
on TV.
I guarantee you they wanted to get in front of Baltimore. Baltimore is that kind of team that will always
take a wide receiver.
Like that will. Well, Baltimore's just such a good drafting team. Like Baltimore's like. When Baltimore's ahead of the Chiefs and you're like, oh, there's so much value here for the Kansas City Chiefs. Like I guarantee you with Baltimore being ahead of them, they're like, Baltimore is going to take this player if we don't get in front of Baltimore right now. I can't believe the Bills would make a trade with the Chiefs. I'm desperate to see what
they need a lot of players and they have to reload quickly. So I'm guessing they're wanting to maximize those mid-round picks to where they can still be competitive. It's kind of like, putting salt in the wound, trading with the Chiefs, but for the Bills to remain competitive, they've got to continue to add picks because they did lose so much.
Yeah.
This is probably to directly impact Baltimore or San Francisco here.
Yeah, I guarantee that's because San Francisco could be looking at a wide receiver. Baltimore could be looking at another wide receiver potentially, or like another pass rusher. I don't think the Chiefs are too worried about Dallas, but it says the Chiefs pick is in. So I mean, this is gotta be a big deal.
I know who it is.
Who is it? Just give it to us. Just give it to us, Rock.
Xavier Worthy to the Chiefs. BK is going to be so excited. The Chiefs just traded up for Xavier Worthy.
Why? Were they afraid Dallas was going to take him?
I don't get it because honestly, you got Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Legette, Troy Frank. Like you have a lot of wide receivers still on the board.
I mean, Dallas has a lot of questions in the wide receiver room, so maybe they thought Dallas was going to take him.
Well, so is Baltimore, but they just extended Rashad Bateman.
Yeah, but they got Bateman, they got Zay Flowers. Like it's not Baltimore could use another wide receiver, but it's not 100% something they absolutely had to address in the first round.
Oh my gosh, that was
like,
well,
and also like Xavier Worthy's not a 1-for-1 replacement of like Brandon Ayuk if the 49ers decided to trade Brandon Ayuk. So why did they need to trade up for that? I feel like they could have just waited at 32 to do that.
Well, and how does that work with Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, and Rashee Rice on the field?
That's an Andy pick, man. That's an Andy. Go get my speed. Go get my little fast wide receivers. I mean, maybe they really love him. Maybe they really buy into the route running and the potential. And maybe they really thought that he wasn't going to be there this late, and so they were just like, screw it.
So here's the you want to know what the Chiefs gave up? Chiefs gave up picks 32, 95, and 221 for pick 28, 133, and 248. I don't like giving up a third-round draft pick and trading back into the fourth round to move up to take Xavier Worthy. Like you gave up a top 100 pick too?
Gosh, that 95 could have been good too. I mean, they still.
That was like Renardo Green, like actual legitimate, like still like starting caliber cornerback.
Yeah,
like area, like
they can't miss. They can't miss on 62 now. They can't miss on 62.
No, they can't at all because then they're going to pick back to back at 131 and 133. But
okay, I don't want to totally, because I was getting really excited about like AD Mitchell or Xavier Legette, and of course it was foolish of me to get really excited about that. But
this is an exciting pick because one adds a level of explosiveness to the offense that is legitimately exciting when you have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback and you factor in Hollywood Brown. But then when you start to break it down, though, and you're like, what if Rashee Rice gets a significant suspension?
We've been talking for like 3 or 4 draft cycles about getting these big explosive receivers, and they keep going back to the little man.
That's an Andy pick. That is an Andy Reid draft pick. 100%. Andy was like, I want that dude. I want that speed in my wide receiver room. I'm not disappointed. That's truly exciting. Like I am legitimately excited to go to a training camp practice and see Xavier Worthy absolutely lighting people up in training camp. And then into like, you know, his size, obviously that's a concern, but you talk about a guy like Tank Dell, who was like incredible last year as a rookie, who is
for 3 games and he broke his leg.
Yeah. And then he broke his leg on a run play, I think, trying to block somebody. But he was tremendous when he was actually on the field. And so it is an exciting pick. I think there's things that would have excited me a lot more than Xavier Worthy here, because I desperately want the Chiefs to get bigger at the wide receiver position. But I think we have to start having that conversation with ourselves. This feels like a total Andy Reid pick, not necessarily a Brett Veach pick. And I think we have to just be realistic that when there is speed like that on the board and the Chiefs can go up and get it, Andy is going to go get his speed guys because he wants to take the top off the defense at the end of the day. And so it's an exciting pick, even though it's not necessarily the pick that I wanted to see the Chiefs make. And also, if Rashee Rice gets suspended, I don't know what. they got no size in that wide receiver room.
He is ridiculously fast, and there are ways the Chiefs are going to use that, as we know. It just still continues to feel, and you know what? I do think he is a more advanced route runner than some of these guys that have given him credit for, and I think he's a more advanced route runner than I think he's a more advanced route runner than a lot of these fast guys the Chiefs have brought in. It still just feels like Andy's chasing the ghost of Tyreek when they really don't even need to with the makeup of the team. But also, we saw Worthy and Mahomes had a little bit of an interaction, a little bit of a private workout together at one point, and Pat said he was pleasantly surprised with his ability. Pat gets what he wants.
See, I think that's another element to this too, where and I don't think we've talked about it enough tonight. I thought about it earlier, but I think it was when we had like 6 people in here and there was a lot of conversations going on, is that like, I think some of this too is like Patrick Mahomes and the growing pains of last year and everything that they had to go through as an offense to just be functional towards the end of the season. I think some of that too is like, hey, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to have to just totally change up how I play the game of football. I want to create explosives. I want to get down the field. And then now that I'm used to having to take the stuff underneath, I can do that and incorporate that into my game. And Mahomes is probably like, go get me another Tyreek. Go get me another guy that can take the top off the defense that way. I just thought that guy was Hollywood Brown. Now, Hollywood Brown is a player that I think fits in really well with what the Chiefs can do. And I think Hollywood Brown has also been underrated in Arizona the last couple of years because he's had some minor injuries that have kept him off the field at times. And Arizona's just been a bad team. And like last season, he got half a year with Kyler Murray, and it didn't feel like they were ever on the same page together ever during his entire time in Arizona. So like, I think there's still production that we can see from Hollywood Brown that we haven't seen over the last couple of years. Like I still think there is more than serviceable play from Hollywood Brown. This just feels like the Chiefs saying, hey, we're hoping to start the season with Rashee Rice. We'll see what happens with his legal situations if he gets suspended, but we're trying to bring the Legion of Zoom back. Like we are trying to create explosives and take the top off of the defense. And if Xavier Worthy could stay on the field, if Xavier Worthy is the guy, then I mean, there's not many players more exciting that they could have drafted, even if it's not the most exciting player they could have drafted, in my personal opinion. I just don't know if they had to trade up for it. I just don't know if they had to trade up for it. That's my thing.
That's the big issue. And I think I'm more freaking out just because I've been just wanting them to go with like these bigger type guys they can go to, but that'll never be a thing. And I'm done after this year. This was it. I'm never going to ask for it again as long as Andy Reid's here. I'm going to hop out of here, guys. I got some writing to do for AP here, but Serda, man, it's cool seeing you back up on this new site, and it's cool that you got to start rolling on Draft Night. You got a big time trade. I'm happy for you, man.
Yeah,
Rocky, keep it going, dude. I'll catch you guys some other time.
Got you.
all right. Appreciate it, Caleb. Make sure you follow Caleb on Twitter at TJ Scoobs. Make sure you follow all of his amazing work at Arrowhead Pride. There's not many people in the business doing better film work than Caleb is right now, and I encourage you to follow everybody on the team at AP because they're going to have everything you need to know up at arrowheadpride.com here within a few minutes as soon as this NFL draft wraps. But Rocky, well, we're so the NFL draft is supposed to go 7 to 10, never ends on time, so it's 10:33 p.m. But it is done early because the Kansas City Chiefs have finished, so we don't really have to finish out the last few picks of the first round if we don't want to.
We don't. I don't think the Chiefs are trading back into the first round. So.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Man, I would have been more excited if they would have taken Cooper DeJean, to be totally honest.
100% I would have been.
It's
like, I don't like at a historically deep receiver draft with so many receivers still on the board.
It just feels like they didn't. And honestly, I could totally talk myself into that move at 32 if Xavier Worthy is still there because there was so much hype around him, like climbing up people's draft boards because of the speed and explosiveness and everything. It just felt like it was a reach to make the trade up. Like, why did they feel like they had to do that unless they thought Baltimore or San Francisco was going to take it? Because I don't think it was going to be the Dallas Cowboys. Like, it just felt like they didn't necessarily need to do that at this point when they could have just sat there and kept all their draft picks.
Well, and I'm shocked that he went ahead of Adonai Mitchell because I think that, but other than just speed, every other metric, Adonai Mitchell is a better prospect. Unless they just really didn't like Adonai Mitchell's attitude, like when they met him, if he just like really turned him off. But it's just like, I don't think he had to move up to make this selection unless you thought that Baltimore was going to select him. But Baltimore just selected Zay Flowers last year. Like, are they really going to go out and get an Xavier Worthy? Like, I'd be more worried that Baltimore would take Adonai Mitchell over Xavier Worthy.
And I was shocked that Baltimore extended Rashad Bateman. Now, it was a team-friendly contract because Rashad Bateman has had injury issues and hasn't really lived up to his first-round draft status. But when he's shown some flashes, like you could see why he was a highly regarded prospect. But I was kind of shocked that they worked out a new deal to keep him on a team-friendly contract because it felt like, yeah, they could go out and get somebody. And obviously, like, they had Odell last year, but he was a part-time player. Like he was getting outsnapped by guys that aren't even on the caliber of an Odell Beckham, because that shows you where Odell Beckham is at this point in his career. And so to me, it feels like they thought Baltimore maybe was going to go do it. At San Francisco, he doesn't feel like the San Francisco kind of wide receiver. I can't imagine San Francisco drafting Xavier Worthy because that's not, they like big bodied wide receivers that can block because they want to run the football. Like that's not a prototypical Kyle Shanahan wide receiver under any circumstance. Like if San Francisco drafts Xavier Legette here, I wouldn't be shocked by that whatsoever. It just feels like maybe Baltimore's going to take a wide receiver. It just feels like the Chiefs didn't need to make the extra move to move up and do it. Like, I don't know what the purpose of trading with the Buffalo Bills was to make that move, because I feel like you could have just waited at 32 and your guy would have been there.
Yeah, like I don't like. No wonder the Bills agreed to trade with the Chiefs. They were like, "Oh, you're gonna take Xavier Worthy? That's not who we want."
Yeah,
well, sure, we'll take your extra picks.
Well, let's wait for this Baltimore Ravens pick. And then, Rocky, I'm sure you've got to do some work at arrowheadpride.com. Again, thank you guys. You guys are incredible. There's almost 2,800 people watching us right now. We just broke 2,800, actually.
Woo!
So please follow us on Twitter at Club Foolish. I'm going to keep pushing that. I'm going to keep putting content up there. And I'm really trying to get something special started here with the guys that we have in place. I hope that we can build on the team down the line. But it's a lot of work, and I got to get started from the ground up. So any help that you can give me and any help that you can give us in the team is unbelievably appreciated right now while we try to get this new project off the ground. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us tonight. NFL Draft Night 1. Please subscribe to us on YouTube as well at Foolish Club Media. Again, follow us on Twitter. Find us on Apple and Spotify. Please subscribe, rate, and review everything that we're doing. This full show will be available in podcast form later on tonight. I'll send it out again tomorrow, and we'll try to get some other draft-related content organized and set up for you guys. As I mentioned, this is all put together very fast because I didn't want to miss the NFL draft. I wanted to be a part of this with everybody who listened to us at Arrowhead Pride and joined us all these years on all these Chiefs shows. So I'm really excited about what we're trying to build here at Foolish Club Media. So make sure you check out everything that we're doing. Rocky, Night 1's in the books. Thoughts, feelings, last minute observations. Want to freak out about the Chiefs pick anymore? What do you got before we get out of here?
I think that it's not the player we wanted, but obviously they have a vision for him. So I'm going to trust Andy Reid and Brett Veach that this is what they think they need to go over the top and keep the offense humming for a three-peat. But more than anything, I'm just excited to be a part of this from the ground up, man. We're building something really, really special here, and I am excited to be a part of it. And I'm excited that you reached out to and got the band back together to do this because this is like our thing now. We get to build it how we want to build it for the people, and for the fans, by the fans. So this is awesome. I'm so excited, man.
Yeah. So thank you guys again. And the Ravens took a cornerback, Nate Wiggins. I just don't know why they needed to move up. I just don't. He would have been there. Like, did they think Buffalo was going to take him? Because Buffalo's already got Curtis Samuel and Khalil Shakir. Like, they've already got like similar build wide receivers on their team. Like, I just don't know what the trade up was for.
Buffalo's going to take Xavier Legette now. Watch.
Just
watch.
I think San Francisco could take him. San Francisco really needs offensive line help, but I don't think that they probably don't like who's available at this stage. But again, thank you guys so much. This has really been incredible tonight. And it's something that like I really personally needed after the last few weeks. And I'm so excited to get back to doing this stuff and so excited to work on this new project that we're trying to launch with so many familiar names and voices. So starting next week, Rocky and Kramer will be back on Monday with Veach season, recapping the entire Kansas City Chiefs draft class. I'll have some more draft related content coming out this weekend, trying to figure some things out. On Tuesday, we should have a new edition of Chiefs Coast to Coast. On Wednesday, we should have a new episode of the Great British Chiefs Show. On Fridays, we'll have Show and BK. On Thursdays, you're going to have some variation of me, maybe with a guest, maybe doing some kind of news update. Still figuring that out. It's all been a very quick process. But please subscribe, rate, and review everything that we're doing on Apple and Spotify. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube. We need all the support we can get right now. And thank you guys so much for hanging out with us tonight for the NFL draft. We will talk to you again tomorrow for rounds 2 and 3 and hopefully some more exciting Chiefs picks. And we promise to be way more thrilled about those ones. We'll talk to you then.